I've diced 1 shallot, minced some garlic, and now I'm gonna mince some herbs. I have some parsley and some tarragon here. So all of this is gonna go into that sauce that goes on top of that lobster. All right, so I'm gonna add my fresh herbs into the bowl. I have 8-ounce lobster tails here that I've steamed for about 7 to 8 minutes. And the reason I steam them is because for presentation purposes, it's easier to steam the tail first so it doesn't curl up when you cook them. So I'm gonna show you how I like to butterfly my lobster tails. So you take your kitchen shears, your kitchen scissor, you go down the back first, right? Slice it that way. Then you also want to use your kitchen shears to go down the center of the hard part of the shell as well, making sure you do not crack the shell. All right? I'm going to take the meat out, pry it open. That beautiful lobster meat is going to come out. Oh yeah. Slide it right out. Look at that. This is my last shell. All right, so I'm gonna take that lobster meat and chop it up. All right, so this meat is partially cooked. The reason we partially cook it is to get that meat out of the shell. And it's gonna do the rest of the cooking in the oven with that bechamel sauce. All right, put my shells right there. All right, so I have my skillet here, and I'm gonna build my sauce. I'm gonna start off with some butter, lots of butter. All right, so I have this on like medium-high heat. I'm gonna make sure that my butter melts. I'm gonna cook my shallots and garlic until the shallots turn translucent. That takes about 4 to 5 minutes. To help the process, I'm gonna add a little salt to draw out that water. So I've cooked the shallots down. Now I'm going to add a little flour to help thicken up the sauce. And now I'm going to deglaze the pan with a little white wine. This needs a dry white wine. I've seen people use brandy or sherry, but I prefer white wine. It's just a cleaner taste. I'm gonna cook most of this alcohol out. I just want the essence of that white wine. Whisk it in. Now I'm gonna add about a cup of seafood stock. Just building the sauce, all right? I'm gonna whisk that in. This smells good already. All right, so I have about a half a cup of heavy cream that I'm gonna add to the pot with the butter, the shallots, the garlic, the white wine, and that seafood stock. Now for the seasoning, okay? I'm using a little bit of English mustard. It has a little horseradish in it, so it's a little spicy, that tarragon and parsley. A little lemon juice. Lemon and seafood go hand in hand. I'm gonna add some freshly cracked black pepper. Okay. A little salt and some parm. I'm adding half of this to the pot. Now you see the sauce start to really thicken up. Okay, now that beautiful lobster meat goes right into this sauce. Okay, you see where I'm going now? I do not want to overcook my lobster meat, so I turned that heat off. All right, now it's time to stuff these shells. All right, so these are stuffed to the max. I'm just gonna top it off with more parm. It's gonna get nice and bubbly under the broiler. All right, I'm gonna pop this under the broiler for about 2 to 3 minutes or until the cheese is golden brown and nice and melty. All right, I think we are nice and toasted and melty. Oh yeah, this is it.
So I've got a pan with a little bit of olive oil. It's not up too high. And then I'm gonna sprinkle on some lemon pepper seasoning. So then I'm gonna slowly turn up the heat and give it a quick stir to coat the shrimp in lemon pepper. Okay, that's starting to sizzle away. All right, so I'm gonna let it cook on the first side with the lid on, And then I'll take the lid off, flip them over, and let them finish cooking on the second side. And then I'll take them out of the pan and move forward with the sauce. Okay, look at these shrimp, and you would never know that a mere 3 or 4 minutes ago, these were frozen. And I'm gonna add some wine, and I'm gonna really crank the heat now and let that start to bubble up and reduce. And this is a non-stick skillet, so there's not a whole lot of scraping required when it comes to deglazing. The pan kind of does that for you, but it's nice to see those little bits of shrimp and flavor in this reduction. So I'm gonna move forward with the sauce. Cream, heavy cream.
Cream cam.
Is there any other cream than heavy cream? And then mascarpone cheese, which I'm obsessed with these days. I don't know what is going on, but I just can't quit reaching for the mascarpone. And then a whole bunch of lemon zest. So this is the zest of 2 lemons. And then a good couple of spoonfuls of pesto. And then I'm just gonna add some salt and pepper and give this a stir so the mascarpone can start to melt, but this is just gonna become more and more creamy, more and more dreamy. And this is a good time to add the gnocchi to the boiling water. It's so soft, it won't come out of the little package. Oh gosh, that feels like fresh gnocchi right there, my word. All right, so the gnocchi's gonna take 3 minutes, and by that time, the sauce will be a little thicker, and I'll pull this meal together. So the gnocchi's ready. I've got my handy little spider tool, and I'm just gonna plunge it right into the sauce. I just didn't want to get a steam facial today, so I'm not pulling the whole pan out and dumping it in. Okay, and then my second freezer ingredient, frozen peas, and these puppies are frozen. Frozen peas thaw faster than frozen shrimp. I mean, it's almost instant, especially when you have a really hot and bubbling sauce, but look at this.
Wow.
Check it out. It looks incredible. And we don't want to forget the shrimp. Just slide those right in. By the time you get the shrimp tossed in, the peas are thawed and everything is hot and piping and wonderful, and I love it. All right, this is great for company, it's great for kids, it's great for me. The lemon just makes everything look pretty. You don't have to add lemon to the top, but. And then, speaking of pretty, drop some basil leaves. There is nothing easier than this dish. It's bright and happy and beautiful.
Okay, so I'm making my easy cumin rub steak.
And I'm making my honey tequila glazed shrimp.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's right.
It's our opposites attract, sweet and spicy surf and I want to start you off with my cumin rub. Is that cool with you?
Please do. I'll be
Now,
on standby.
I know you're handling, the bottom feeders, and my cumin rub would actually be great with your shrimp, but it's gonna be awesome on our steak. Now, how many times do you go to the grocery store and you see the T-bone on sale?
Yep.
You'll get a nice 4-pack, beautiful, lovely, and delicious. Rub is simple. Salt, pepper, cumin, some Hungarian hot paprika.
Gotta have it.
I was waiting for that.
Garlic powder. When I say garlic powder, I mean the garlic powder that's got grain and
The
granules.
granulated
Yeah,
garlic,
yeah,
not
yeah.
the
Not
salt.
powder,
Not- yeah.
powder. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So get in here.
Did you guys know that cumin is the most used spice in the world?
It's
Wow, is it
everywhere.
really?
Yeah.
Yes, because
it's everywhere.
It's used in Cuban, Indian, Chinese, all sorts
Oh,
of
yeah.
different
I
I never knew that. I would
Mexican.
never even guess cumin.
What?
I would
Well,
say like cinnamon or like.
Yeah.
I'm just sprinkling some on the front, and then I'm gonna sprinkle it on the back and then rub like crazy. But yeah, cumin's huge. I just took a Malay cooking course in Cape Town, and she used cumin seed that she ground herself, and I thought I need to do that more.
Yeah.
Instead of just buying the cumin powder, I can like get in there with my mortar and pestle and really make those natural oils come out. So speaking of those natural oils, that's what the rubbing is gonna do here. All right, so I'm gonna put these on the back counter and they're gonna rest a little bit. Let me show you what it looks like. I like to let it rest.
Rusty.
It's gonna soak in a little bit so it just doesn't burn and come off on your griddle here. So I've got the griddle preheated. I'm gonna turn it back on just so I can get a
I
nice
like this
sear.
surf and turf. It's very continental. It's very
Yeah, and it's easy to
fun.
do.
Hey, listen,
All right.
if you could also split this, like one T-bone
that's a
for
lot.
2 people.
That's a lot.
You know, if your significant other likes filet, and if you like a strip steak, you can a little best of both worlds, right?
I would have to agree. All right, screaming hot, smoking griddle. Not the grill. For some reason, I don't like the indoor grill for a steak. I
I don't
prefer
either.
like
I know,
the
I want all
griddle.
the contact.
Yeah, I want contact searing on this. So if you didn't notice, I put a little olive oil on the top, and I'm putting that side down.
It's gonna be so good.
And then I'll just hit the top with a little bit of olive oil. And then just let that cook depending on your doneness, but I would say this is almost an inch. So, 3 to 4 minutes first side, a couple of minutes on the second side, and you're done after you tint.
Awesome.
All right?
All right, let's get started on the surf element, and we are using shrimp. Listen, you could peel these, devein them yourself, or you could, if you have a trusted fishmonger, someone at your grocery store, have it done nice and fresh there. It does make a difference then.
Yeah.
So try to get the fresh, best shrimp, because we are splurging a little bit on our honey booze today. And we are gonna marinate this ever so shortly. I don't think you could marinate shrimp very long. I don't think it's good for the flesh in there. And we're starting with honey, because this is the honey tequila lime shrimp. So we got some
I
honey
get
in
it.
there.
Honey.
Some lime juice, fresh, some fresh lime zest, and we're gonna add some chipotle powder.
Dude.
And according to Katie Lee, whether she's right or not, I don't know, jury's
She's
still
right,
out,
Jeff.
some cumin, world's most popular spice!
I mean, after 5 years, don't
It's
you know that I'm
true.
usually right?
I know how you guys, I know how that, I just when in doubt, your guys are always right. So we're gonna whisk this up, a little salt in there, about 1/4 teaspoon. And we're just gonna let this marinade in that shrimp.
It's hanging out.
Hang out 15 minutes. No more, no less, right? Okay, and last but not least, a little clementine juice.
Is that last? Because I see
Yes.
some right here.
Oh, wait, I was just gonna, the tequila portion, right?
smells
Some nice
good.
Blanco tequila, something obviously you would drink, but this is not the time to break out the reposado or añejo or extra añejo. But since we are using tequila in the marinade, I had the bottle out, so why not give ourselves
Oh,
a
thank
lovely
goodness.
cocktail. Sonny, can you please present this to the rest of our beautiful
Thank you.
cast mates here?
I was so thirsty.
So I used tequila, I used clementine. Let's prime up the evening here. And this is my clementine spritzer.
It's very grapefruity, huh?
Yes, well, there's no grapefruit. So this has that clementine juice, a little extra from there. Some soda water, tequila, obviously, and a little Campari to help round it out.
The
Almost like
Campari.
a Negroni, but with tequila. I
This
like
could be
it.
my new Valentine's Day drink. This is
This is,
delicious.
look at that. You see that and you
so
get
fresh.
excited.
You feel that more.
Amore. All right, so I got some right here. Again, this shrimp has been marinating for 15 minutes. I got my grill pan going here nice and hot. Grill on. All right, because I love charred, that charred shrimp. All right, because if I put this right in the pan right now, I think there's a lot of moisture in here. Without drying it out for 5-10 minutes with paper towels and killing trees, we're just gonna throw it right on the grill pan here.
Throw it on the
We're gonna
grill,
give it-
Jeff.
Look at that, that's beautiful. And those sugars are gonna caramelize, and we are gonna char these a couple minutes aside until they're
Nice
beautifully
little
charred.
flip right now. Oh, that was the money shot right there. All right, you know what they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So stick around and see how we finish this match made in heaven, surf and
Welcome back. Today we are playing Matchmaker with an unexpected flavor combination for Valentine's Day. Sonny and I are putting the finishing touches on our surf and turf. So let's finish off these honey lime tequila shrimp. Remember that reserved marinade we had? I got a pan good to go here. We're just gonna add this in and just kind of let it deglaze a little bit, right? And just kind of cook off the alcohol and reduce.
Okay.
And I got my shrimp here. Look at that beautiful char on there.
super char.
That honey caramelized. And once this kind of gets to where we want it. All right, so we're gonna deglaze it, right? We're reducing that. Once it's kind of almost half reduced like that, we can add our shrimp directly in there, just like this.
So this is quick at the end because you don't want to overcook.
Again, yes.
Do you know that shrimp is America's favorite seafood?
Really?
I'm not surprised
Number
by
one.
that.
I get it because we
On
call it
average-
popcorn,
Yeah,
we
we
call it
like it
barbecue.
fried.
Every single
Yeah.
American on average eats 4 pounds a year.
I think I eat more than that.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of
You
the ones
know,
I
you give
definitely
me a
more than 4
wheelless
pounds.
shrimp cocktail. It's not
I mean, at
making it.
least
It's
that-
like
that
French fries
alone,
in the
4
car.
pounds.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not making it home.
All right, you can see it kind of drying out,
That looks
right? That's what we
delicious.
want, that little, nappe in the pan, just like that. All right, but we're not done. This is another little showstopper for your loved one there when you're over the stove. And you're
hold
beating the
on,
brow.
hair product.
And you're looking good. Yeah, just be careful about
Sonny,
how
you
the,
and I
how
go
the
up in
bouffant-
flames.
Girl, I'm all the way back here.
So you can do this with the lighter, but then we're gonna add another
So we should
shot of
turn off the
tequila.
lights.
You should turn the lights off.
We can't, the whole thing
Not in
shut
our budget.
down. People
No?
get mad. The camera guys are already looking at me like, don't shut the lights off. Okay, so right there, that's what we want. When it starts coating that shrimp, we're gonna add that in. Then we can kind of tip it, right? Oh boy, we lost the shrimp. That's okay, we'll get back to that. Now, believe it or not, this does not cook off all the alcohol, only a small portion of it. But obviously, you could do this with a lighter, do it off the heat if you're not experienced or you're a little nervous. And that's it. We just, once the flames subside, we're ready to plate. So, Sonny,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring this over to you hot and ready and glazed.
So I got 2 steaks over here. Let it rest on the back counter at room temp for a few minutes. Get it onto the grill with some olive oil, griddle actually, with some olive oil. And then when you get them off, after you flip them, you gotta rest them and tint them. And that's what I did. I just put some aluminum foil over them. It allows it to redistribute the juices before you slice into it. Are you almost done over there?
I'm done.
So then you just kind of go in.
Oh,
Just,
save the bone.
I will save the bone. The bone is where it's at, right?
And don't be afraid to take the bone and throw it in the oven and roast, I mean.
Yeah. Well, or you can just take the bone and put it into a pot and, put some water in there and
you
make
go.
a little bone broth for it. Even though the bone is cooked, still gonna be really delicious. So just get in there, cut it out. I just don't wanna mess up myself. And then just come in and make some nice slices.
Oh, man.
Yum.
There you go, like that. Look at that. Yummy,
Beautiful.
juicy.
So we say surf and turf, but did you guys know that in Australia they say beef and reef?
Beef and reef.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Beef and reef.
And we've got to take care of our
like
reefs
that.
out there,
I
man.
like that.
Beef and reef.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna come with. Are you ready for my shrimp, or you still
Yeah,
need?
I just want to talk about this quick little topping I love to put on steak, on fish. It's really, really easy to do. Take some cucumbers, some radishes, some jalapeno, toss it with like a little bit of vinegar, salt, pepper.
Yeah.
Maybe if you care to, like a shake of sugar.
Okay.
To kind of like bring it to this escovitch feel, and then just get it right over the top of
That's
your
gonna pair
steak.
nicely with this right here. Look at this.
Get that on there.
Tell me you don't want some of this, Geoffrey. This has got your name all over it. Oh, man.
You start the pan cold with the pancetta. Let the pancetta really render down. The idea is to turn into these little crunchy bits of tender bacon. So the textural experience is really there.
The pancetta, when I'm cooking pancetta, I usually have to make about twice as much because my dad will smell it. Well, you saw Roxy, she just came by, she smelled it, and then I eat it. I know you can't tell. But the pancetta is so awesome. The key to this is making sure that we went low and slow to really render it down, and these are actually crunchy. They got that nice little bacon crunch. They're nice and salty, and I'm gonna leave all this rendered fat in there, and this is gonna come together for the sauce for the Cacio Pepe. So, you go to Rome, you'll taste a dish, you'll say this is so simple, but why is it so delicious? Really quality ingredients. Okay, we'll leave that staying warm. Let me grab some half and half. One of my favorite dishes of all time is Cacio Pepe. It doesn't need the cream, but I wanted a little more richness to it. I thought it would be more palatable to people to have a little bit of cream into it, just a touch, not overdone. A little black pepper, a little unsalted butter, and we'll let this just reduce down a little bit. And then the Parmesan cheese is gonna go in here with the pecorino that's gonna go in here. Dynamite. Okay, now let's get over here. Now you see this right here, I got this cream reducing. Not reducing too much, don't worry about this. What I'm gonna do now is add back in the pancetta, nice and crunchy. Fat in there for all that fantastic flavor. Let me get a little bit of the Pecorino Romano. So this is that nice salty sheep's cheese, again from Rome. Touch of that. This is gonna tighten up a bunch on you. Don't worry about it because we'll save some of that pasta water and get it in there. Also a little, my favorite, Parmigiano Reggiano. Touch of that in there. Okay, stir that up. And I got boiling water. Now, what's the key with the boiling water? Well, I'll tell you something. If there's one thing that you'll hear in Italy, you'll hear from everybody, is that pasta waits for no one. So everything's got to be done. I'm going to turn the heat off on this. The pasta has got to be done perfectly al dente. So the sauce is done, the salad's done, the dessert is finished. I'll hit a little salt into there. Get some really good linguine. Water's boiling. Drop that in. This is how you get it done right here. Some fantastic al dente linguine going into this Roman pasta dish with cheese and fresh cracked black pepper. Look at that. And a little pancetta. Oh yeah, and a little bit of cream. So we're gonna dump that right in. Now I always reserve my pasta water just in case I need some. Outstanding. So what we've got here is a little pancetta that was cooked down. I'm just looking at how much sauce I have, how it's gonna coat that pasta. You gotta remember something. This is Italian style, so it's not a ton of sauce just running all over the plate. It is a little bit tight. So, some water. And I'm gonna add a little bit more of the Parmigiano Reggiano and as well as the Pecorino, that fantastic sheep's cheese. Okay, so we'll let that just kind of absorb there. We wanna give this a nice little presentation, not splatter it all over the place. We call this nesting in the restaurants. Right on top. You can see how that pasta just started to absorb the last of the sauce. We'll get all of the goodness right up on top. Oh yeah, awesome. Okay, set that down. Now, little fresh parsley. It's been washed, just hand torn. This is nice and rustic. There we go. A little bit more of the parm and pecorino right on top. Isn't that beautiful? The flavor's gonna be outrageous. Talked about it the whole time. Just use really good ingredients, treat it with a lot of respect, cook it the right way, and last but not least, fresh cracked black pepper. That's what it is, cheese and pepper. There you go. Okay, nest that up. Okay, there we go. Now, when you go to Italy, this is one thing I will tell you. Do not ask for a spoon to twirl that pasta. Grab a little bit to the side, bring it over here to the side of your plate, twirl it up. Take some time, sit there and enjoy this. Outrageous. Creamy, salty, a lot of pepper. I love fresh cracked black pepper.
I have a little paprika, some mustard powder, some dried dill, some onion powder, garlic powder, a little salt, and some freshly cracked black pepper. Okay, just gonna give it a mix. All right, that looks good. Now I'm just gonna rub both sides of my ribeyes with this seasoning. You wanna make sure that you cover all of the surfaces on your ribeye. I mean, this steak needs a really great coating, even on the fat cap. All right, so I'm gonna add a little canola oil to my cast iron skillet, which is nice and hot. Okay, and I'm just gonna sear these on both sides. We like our steaks in this household about medium well, so I'm gonna cook this until the internal temperature reaches about 150 to 155. So it's been about 6 or 7 minutes and they're ready to flip. It should be nice and golden brown. Oh yeah, look at that. That nice crust on there. Flip it over. I'm gonna do the same thing to this side, cook it for about 6 to 7 minutes. And make sure those sides get cooked evenly as well. So what I'm doing is now I'm gonna create this kind of like this butter bath. I'm gonna baste the steaks with this melted butter, that rendered fat. I have some rosemary here, I have some thyme and some garlic. All right, so what I'm doing is just essentially infusing that butter with the herbs and the garlic, and it's gonna be infused into the steak. All right, so I'm gonna let my ribeyes rest But before I do that, what I like to do is you take that garlic and herb infused butter, pour it right on top of your steaks. And as it rests, I'm gonna tint it because I want it to lock in all of that herby garlic butter goodness. Take a few cups of flour, a little bit of my house seasoning, that's onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and a little paprika. Okay, mix it up. I'm taking my buttermilk marinated onions and just tossing it in that seasoned flour. All right, so I have my canola oil heated to 375. I'm gonna fry these off in a few batches. Oh yeah. All right, hit it with a little salt. All right, and for the main attraction.
It's a party in my mouth.
Oh, no, thank you, Mama J.
My God, these onions are so good.
Nice and crunchy. Very good, Kardea. Everything.
Yes.
Creamy lemon pasta with steak and lobster. So I added some butter to a pretty hot skillet, and I just added some lobster meat. It's claw and knuckle meat, and it just looks amazing. It's all I can do not to just reach in here and go for it. So the point here is not to cook the lobster because actually the lobster is already cooked. I just need to heat it up and sort of get it coated in that butter. And now I'm gonna add a little more butter to the pan. I had a mixture of butter and olive oil to put the lobster in. Okay, so I'm gonna crank up the heat and I'm gonna grab the beef, which is, because it's a special occasion, beef tenderloin, which...
Oh, wow.
Nice. Stop.
That's just the kind of reaction I look for in a crew member of this cooking show. So I've got not too much because tenderloin is a very expensive cut of meat. And I'm gonna grab some lemon pepper seasoning since it's kind of a lemon vibe in the pasta. But I just wanna cook these chunks to medium rare. It's gonna take a couple minutes. The tenderloin's gonna rest, and by the time the pasta's ready, it is going to be absolutely perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna make the sauce right in the same skillet. I've got finely diced shallots and minced garlic, some red pepper flakes, woo! Oops, minced oregano and thyme. Woo, it's popping. And then I'm gonna stir this around to release the magic. Okay, so I'm gonna move forward with this delicious pasta sauce. I'm gonna add quite a bit of wine. Woo, that is some brown butter sauce there. All right, so this has reduced just a little bit, and I'm adding some cream.
Oh my gosh.
And quite a bit of lemon zest. Now I'm just gonna let this thicken up and reduce for probably just a minute because this pan is so hot. And after that, we'll pull this pasta together. Okay, and then whenever I make a pasta sauce, I always reserve a little bit of the pasta water and just pour it in just to give it a little bit of thinness so it doesn't get too gloopy. So for the pasta itself, I'm using angel hair, which I think is so good with any light creamy pasta because it just kind of coats the noodles. It's already cooked, standing by, and then I'm just going to toss it.
Whoa.
Ooh, baby. Check it out.
Done it again.
Okay, and then normally I'd squeeze a lemon over, but I just went ahead and juiced a lemon. I'm just gonna kind of pour a little bit of juice, but it looks better when you squeeze a lemon. And then lots of parsley all over. So there's the turf. And then look at this glorious lobster, you guys.
It looks so good, Mom.
This has Alex and Mauricio written all over it.
I'm gonna show you my easy lobster tail mac and cheese,
upgrade.
okay? So just go get some lobster tails. I'm gonna show you how to work with these. These are about 4 ounces. I would go only up to 6. You're going to get them into your pot here, a very small pot on purpose, okay? Get them into your pot.
A lot of times you can find these on sale frozen too.
In the freezer section. Now, over the top of my lobster tails, just some seafood seasoning.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna cover them with some water.
Are you pretty strict with seafood and cheese?
Go to Sicily, they're putting cheese on seafood too. I mean,
Yeah, it happens.
it's fine.
This isn't a rolling boil that I'm looking for here. We are going to slow poach our lobster tails. You're gonna be tender with the lobster tail because you don't want to overcook them because they're gonna get cooked twice. Plus, it's gonna give a lot of time for this water to get flavored up, and I'll explain that to you in a second. Katie, this is what it's gonna look like when you're done. These are your lobster tails. They're gonna turn color. If you could just get the meat out and make nice, healthy chunks out of it. This is that poaching liquid, you know, murky, flavorful goodness,
that seafood
right?
seasoning, too.
You hit it with a little bit of salt when you get the lobster in there, and now it tastes like the lobster, okay? Don't throw this away. You're gonna use this pot in a second, but I wanna show you how to make the roux. So any good roux obviously starts with some butter.
Some being the working.
Well, you know, yeah, well, you don't wanna overdose on the butter and then not have enough flour, right?
Generally, it's
one part, one part.
One. Yeah.
So 1 part butter, 1 part flour. Now I'm gonna do a flavorful roux. So I like to add in some grated onion pulp.
Okay.
Just get that on your box grater, or you can even use your little zester. Okay, so now to that flour, butter, and onion pulp, a little bit of garlic.
Onion pulp.
You wanna make sure you don't go to brown butter. And I like kind of moving it fast so that the garlic doesn't brown. Okay, so as that's working, here's my problem with lobster mac and cheese. It always just tastes like lobster inside of mac and cheese.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of reek of lobster, you know, scent and flavor everywhere. So we're getting the elbows into
lobster down here.
Very got you, because I'm gonna need those shells back, okay? Because we put those back into this water.
This
I mean, don't
lobster-
go outside. We're
Yeah.
not too far from the sea over here. You're gonna be having seagulls all over you.
Now, this is something that it's gonna be a flavorful, starchy water because that's gonna be used in our mac and cheese when the roux is done. Gonna add in some dry mustard.
Oh, I love
A little bit more of that seafood seasoning.
Got your shells here.
Those shells.
Do you want me to chop up the lobster?
Yeah,
or
nice
anything?
chunks. And then to that, some heavy cream.
Oh,
Dude.
jeez.
Okay, with a nice
my car?
crack of black pepper. Love
You never have
this
enough
loaded
pepper.
up. You really can't. Let's be
I-
honest, right? Now these shells are going back in. I'm breaking the rules. I want it to taste like 360 degrees of lobster. Okay, this is gonna be a pot that you watch. Just give it a nice stir. Katie, if you don't mind actually draining this out in the sink, I've got a little sieve in there. And hold on to the liquid because we're gonna use that for our sauce, which started with a simple roux. I'm going to now add in the cheeses. This
Here
is
comes the
shredded
cheese.
Gruyere.
What is it?
Shredded Gruyere cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gruyere.
You're using yours.
And then omnipresent in the cheese section of my fridge, a little bit of shredded Monterey Jack and cheddar blend. And then you're just gonna loosen it with a little bit of this water.
Which has all that flavor.
It has all the flavor.
Plus the starch.
Yeah, plus all the starch, so it's gonna help tighten up as well. Here's our pasta. Right in there.
This is going in right
Oh,
quick.
right in. We gotta get this in the oven, which by the way is set at 350 degrees.
Oh, boy.
I'm just gonna turn this.
Oh my heavens.
What are you looking for consistency before you bake it for all those?
You want it just,
at home.
you want it just above tight, right? A little bit of loose. Allow it to come together. Realize that those elbows are, you know, center empty, if you will, and they'll soak up some of the sauce. So now listen, if you're a claw person, I totally get it because I'm into the claw as well. You can also, in the seafood section of your grocery store, just buy one of those little pint containers of probably pre-poached lobster, if you will. So
I gotta tell you, I mean, if I was at a steakhouse, I want a little ramekin of this broiled
That's
with my
right.
steak.
Yep.
that in there.
I think that's
Wow.
look at that.
And if you were at a steakhouse, you'd be paying a lot more for it.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
You're probably getting
Nice
a
and
lot less
expensive.
lobster.
Very
too.
expensive lobster.
Give that a little jiggle, settle
Wow.
My money don't.
it, and then over the top,
More cheese.
more cheese, more cheese.
This is not just a suggestion of cheese either.
No.
There's cheese
This is-
in this mac and cheese.
Yeah, this is the
I love
intent to cheese.
when you do the baked mac and cheese and there's a thick layer of
Yeah.
cheese on top.
Yeah, it should
I don't
be
want
like
it
the
to be
creme brulee.
like for decoration. I want it to be like my fork has to go in and work to get through it.
Is there any macaroni with this mac and cheese?
Yeah, there's just a little bit in there. A whole pound, Jeezy.
Jeff, get the door.
I got you. I
Get the
got
door,
you.
Jeff.
350 degrees. This is gonna be for about 30, 35 minutes.
Dude.
I've got one here in a nice warm oven for you.
Ooh la la.
Let me get the oven for you.
You need leverage for that one.
Uh,
The thing weighs like you pound a mac.
Come on, baby. Break the rules.
Wow.
I mean, rules are meant to be broken.
It's very sly, though, that you chose mac and cheese to break the seafood rule. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
We
Come
all
on.
love it,
You
right?
can't like. There's no. We had nothing against it. We couldn't argue.
I mean, how
I
am
also
gonna
think
argue?
it's like the type of seafood. Like lobster's sturdy and works with cheese. I mean, look at this. Come on.
For her.
Come on.
I gotta taste it, so.
No. Ladies first.
Do you like
my
a corner?
God.
Easy, how dare you?
I bet you could also make them freeze this.
I
Yeah.
like these as
This
individual.
is a freeze ahead. I would bake it without the cheese on the top, and then on the final cook, throw the cheese on the top. So you can have that real crusty, crunchy moment.
Just that top coat of crunchy cheese on top gives you the texture you need without the breadcrumbs. And the noodles are perfectly cooked. And I can't tell you how much seafood flavor is embedded in every bite.
So I've got 6 noodles. You can also use just regular lasagna noodles. The thing I like about the no-boil noodles is that they have straight edges. And I'm gonna wind up slicing the rolls, so it'll really come in handy to have those edges. All right, and then I'm spreading ricotta cheese all over the surface. Feel free to come in and check out what I'm doing here, Alex. Nice. And then love ricotta, but I feel like it always needs just a little bit of salt and pepper. And then some apricot preserves. Bear with me here. This is not a sweet pasta dish, but I'm gonna add some prosciutto in a second, and it's nice to have that little salty sweet thing going on. All right, and then prosciutto. I've still got it on the paper because once you take it off the paper, it just becomes more and more unruly. So you basically wanna put it straight on the sheet. You see that, Alex?
Wow, it's
Isn't that cute? And then about 3 basil leaves, 1, 2, 3, and a little bit of mozzarella. You just want to keep in mind that this is going to be rolled up and sliced, so if you stuff it too full, it's going to be really hard to keep it together. All right, I'm going to put one more little shred on there. Okay, and then I'll turn it so I can roll it away from me, and you just want to kind of keep tucking things in so it stays really tight. You don't want to have a great big gap or a great big air bubble in there. Okay, so once it's rolled, I've got a really sharp knife and I'm going to cut it into thirds. So I'll cut one end off really carefully. Be sure to use a serrated knife because it just makes it easier. And then I'm going to turn it around and cut the other 2 pieces. All right, so that is 1 lasagna sheet, 3 rosettes. I'm gonna keep going until I get all of these in, and I'll put them in the baking dish as I go. All right, see this beautiful little pan of rosettes?
Wow.
And I love that not all of them are identical and some of them are different heights. It's just nice and rustic. So I'm gonna top this with a simple sauce, and it's just heavy cream with some grated garlic and pecorino romano cheese, nice and sharp, and salt and pepper, and then I'll give this a stir. All right, so come on in here, Alex. You gotta watch this happen. Poor Cam. And honestly, this was a relatively simple dish. It just takes a little assembly time, but the payoff in terms of how much time it takes to prepare is great. I have some mozzarella left, of course. Always gotta leave some mozzarella to sprinkle over the top. All right, now we can put this into the oven. I'm gonna bake it at 375 degrees for 14 to 16 minutes until it's bubbly. So I've got a little bit of balsamic glaze over the top. You can do whole basil leaves, you can tear them up as you go. I have a new motto. We don't get to make anything that we don't eat and taste. We don't get to make anything and just look at it anymore. Those days are over.
We do
Okay.
not miss those days.
Watch this, Alex. Come in. Ready? Look at that creamy sauce. Oh, I'm so excited. Stu, you want to come join me and take a bite? Here, Stu. Together. We always do these things together.
Stu will gladly oblige.
Stu is like pulling the plate away from me. Oh my gosh, Stu. Scale of 1 to 10.
Well, you made a mess, but this is certifiably some of the best food that I've ever had.
Wow.
Great thing about sweet potatoes is, well, people get them mixed up all the time. Is it a yam? Is it a sweet potato? Well, we're talking about the sweet potato, a little less starchy than the yam. So the idea here is cook these off ahead of time, or maybe you have some left over. We're gonna get them cool to the touch, just to where we can kind of handle them a little bit. Poke some holes in them, roasted them off in the oven, just the normal way you'd cook them. And look at that. Look at that beautiful color. Huh? Take this into the bowl. Some grated parm, maybe about a cup. A little olive oil, a couple tablespoons of that. Little brown sugar. I know that we have the sweetness of the sweet potato going on, but a little brown sugar will go a long way. A little salt and pepper. There we go. And here's where we really start adding the subtle flavor, but the flavor that everybody will go like, why? Why does this gnocchi taste so fantastic? It's this. We're gonna use a little thyme, a little fresh thyme. So a little bit of thyme. And last but not least, say holidays, what do you think? You think nothing. Okay, lock that down. Let that slowly whip together there for a second. Turn it up. We're gonna really let that fluff up. We're really gonna put a lot of air into that and aerate it. It's gonna be nice and, that'll help it get nice and creamy. Because remember, on your gnocchi, you don't want those dense little hard pillows. You want to be nice, light, and fluffy. Now this right here looks like pumpkin pie filling, just in the savory sense. Bring this off. Get a little bench flour here. Now I was gonna be using maybe up to 2 cups of flour for this, but we're really gonna be looking for what the texture of this is gonna look like. I want it to be a little bit pliable. Seems like a little now, but there's a ton of flavor in that. And again, just the opportunity to repurpose that sweet potato. Could have been left over. You know how you have the big Thanksgiving party the night before? Well, the great thing is you could cook off those sweet potatoes, had them done and ready to go. Just one less thing that you have to cook on the actual big turkey day. Okay? There we go. Get a little more flour right up on top of that. Lightly start putting it together. Oh, this is perfect. Making gnocchi, it takes a lot of time. Well, it doesn't take a lot of time. It takes patience because you're working with something really super delicate. So what I've got here is some sweet potatoes I cooked ahead of time, made this fantastic little mixture with a little bit of thyme, a lot of Parmesan cheese, and some olive oil, and now I'm just lightly kneading in the flour. It's not an exact science because I don't know how many sweet potatoes I'm gonna have and how wet they're going to be, so I'm just working them enough just to where they're not tacky, and I'm gonna be able to start to roll them out to make those little dumplings. Okay, this, a touch of flour inside the bowl, pick that up, let it just rest here for just maybe about 30 minutes. So I took the sweet potatoes, kneaded it in a little bit of flour, and then I let it rest there in a floured bowl. Now, cut off a manageable piece, a little bit of flour, and what we're looking for, let me just kind of show you the doughiness is. It's kind of tender like a pillow, not dense, not hard. For the size that it is, it's really kind of nice and light. Kind of feels like it might be a pastry. So I'm just gonna lightly roll this out. There we go. A little bit more manageable piece to work with. Uniform size, so they cook equally, okay? And we'll just knock off little 1-inch pieces. Go. About a tablespoon of salt to a gallon of water, remember that? And you definitely need it with the gnocchi. Start dropping these little dumplings down. When they float, they're gonna be done. We're gonna work them in batches, pull them out, let them cool. It's all coming together. That's how I want them done. Beautiful gnocchi, sweet potato gnocchi with a little bit of thyme and Parmesan cheese, all coming together for the traditional, untraditional items that we make here at the Fieri house or at the ranch for Thanksgiving. Now look at those. A little bit of salt water, took the sweet potato, mixed up the Parmesan cheese, gonna let these rest for just a second. Over here, I've got a little brown butter. So what I did is I started a pan, I'm gonna fire it back up now, started a cold pan, dropped the butter in there, and then slowly let it brown. If you drop the butter into a hot pan, automatically starts to brown, automatically starts to turn on you, and then you're chasing it down. So this right here, I've got it rendered down. I got a bunch of heat on it. Get it right to the brown butter look that I'm looking for. Just get nice and golden. Okay? Gets that little nuttiness to it. Now we'll go ahead, drop this in. And just giving these a chance to cool down a little bit, just to dry out the touch. The thyme in there. And all we're gonna do is just coat this a little bit. I gotta grab some Parmesan cheese. Okay, let that coat up a little bit. A little more heat on that braising liquid. A little Parm on top of that, and that's all she wrote. They're already nice and warm. Okay. First, that little pillow. Sweet potato. Melt in your mouth. Light, super flavorful, fresh thyme. That's the kicker.
Nothing strikes fear in the hearts of cooks more than the word souffle. Well, I've got a few tricks that make my spinach and cheddar souffle come out perfectly every single time. I'll show you. First, I'm gonna make a white sauce. I'm just gonna heat up 1 cup of milk. This is really the base for every souffle. And it's as easy as making a white sauce for mac and cheese. I've got 3 tablespoons of melted butter and 3 tablespoons of flour. Cook them together for about 2 minutes. All you really want to do here is just cook out that raw flour taste. When the milk is scalded, but not boiling, so it's really hot, you'll sort of see bubbles around the edge of it. Somehow when it boils, then it gets a skin, it's a whole other thing. Just pour the whole cup of hot milk right into the butter and flour and just cook that for a few minutes until it thickens. And while that's happening, I'm gonna add some spices. Classic souffle spice is nutmeg. So there's something about it, it's just perfect with cheese. So about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Just cook the white sauce on a very low heat. You don't want it to burn. You'll see it gets thick very quickly. Okay, and then a little heat, just a pinch of cayenne, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Turn it off. See how nice and thick it gets? That's really just from milk and flour and butter. Okay, next I'm gonna add 4 extra large egg yolks. It's really important that they're room temperature. Just dump them right in. It's gonna make it nice and thick. Gorgeous base for a souffle. So I just need about 1/2 cup of grated cheddar. You can use Vermont cheddar, good aged cheddar. That should do it. So I'm just gonna put it right into the white sauce. You need a whisk and a wooden spoon for this. Go back and forth. And 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. That's gonna give it some good heat, a little spice. So I've got 1 package of frozen spinach that I actually defrosted and then squeezed all the water out of it. So just like that. And then just put the whole thing right in. Of course you could use fresh spinach, but it would take so much longer. So I'm just gonna put this base right into a big bowl. So the reason the souffle rises is the egg whites. I've got 5 room temperature egg whites. I'm just gonna whisk them up. I'm adding 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar, which actually stabilizes the egg whites and lets them reach their full volume. Start beating it on low speed. After a minute, turn the speed up to medium and beat for another minute. Then crank up the speed to high and keep it going until the whites form firm, glossy peaks. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lighten it a little bit by just whisking in about 1/4 of the egg whites. It'll make it easier to fold in the rest. This part you can whisk in and not worry about ruining it. The second part you want to fold in really carefully because what you don't want to do is deflate the egg whites. So I'll show you how it's done. Let's put all the egg whites right in the middle and then cut right through the middle of it and just fold them over. And just keep folding very carefully without deflating the egg whites until it's completely incorporated. I'll show you the second tip for making the perfect souffle. Preparing the souffle dish. This is what I do. First, take a 6 to 8 cup souffle dish, butter the sides, then sprinkle the dish with grated Parmesan cheese. This allows the souffle to rise really well. If you don't want your souffle to come out like a pancake, this works. Just very carefully pour the souffle mixture into the dish. Smooth the top. And take your spatula and just do a little line right around the middle of the souffle. It helps it rise evenly. Okay, into the oven, 400 degrees. Turn it down right away to 375 and no peeking. Now that's a souffle.
We're gonna start by making fresh pasta, which is so easy. We have 400 grams of 00 flour. On the cutting board, I'm gonna put a little salt, okay, a little olive oil, just a drip, and then we're just gonna do this.
Geoffrey, I see you're kind of slowly pulling the flour in.
It's a little Vesuvius action, Jeff. Look at that, you see?
Easy, rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. And so we're just gonna get this to a point where we're then gonna use our paws. When you touch it, it's very supple. We're just gonna knead it a bit.
No machine.
No machine. We're just gonna stop there because I don't wanna overdo it. And it's just, we're gonna put it in a ball, up like that. We're gonna wrap it up, and then what I like to do is just put this in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
It's important. I have water here that I'm gonna generously salt. Extra virgin olive oil, this is when you use extra virgin olive oil. We're gonna add some garlic, pepperoncini, a little salt, scallions, and start to saute. Oh. All right, we have our sauce started. I'm gonna go to my pasta, unwrap it, roll it out, finish it up, and put it together. Okay, so what we're gonna do, roll it on itself, and you see how beautiful and soft it is? It's really, it's a great dough. And then we just go in, fettuccine. This is the thickness of fettuccine. You see this? This is what it looks like, beautiful, fresh fettuccine. And that's done. That's all there is to making fresh pasta. I have my sauce, and I'm gonna add a touch of white wine. To that, I'm gonna add a little cream, a little Fresno chili.
Oh.
Okay. Now let's add our pasta. You ready?
You know that's gonna have a good texture.
Take a look at the pasta sauce now. It's starting to come together. And I have jumbo lump crab. We're gonna go like this. And then we're gonna squeeze a lemon. Get it away from the heat because I don't want anything breaking. Now, we're gonna just bring these two together. It's meeting the sauce, it's saying hello. It's warm, so it's gonna open up. To that, we're gonna add a little bit of butter.
Need it.
You need it. Medium heat, just controlling the heat. A little fresh dill. A touch of tarragon and a little bit of salt. All right, are you ready? A little extra virgin olive oil. And there you have homemade, fresh crab pasta.
Stand and go.
Let me show you how to make this sauce. It is so easy, but it's also special enough for a date night. So I've got some pancetta in my skillet here, and I've cut it into slices, and I'm just rendering all the fat out of it. And you can see all those brown bits on the bottom. That's where the good stuff is. Gus, is the smell of this pancetta driving you nuts? Sorry, bud, but it's for your dad. So I've got a paper towel on a plate here, and I'm just gonna take this out with a slotted spoon, and all that good pancetta fat that's in there, that's what we're gonna use to cook our other ingredients. Now, if you don't have pancetta, this works really well with bacon, and usually we've got bacon in our freezer, so this can be kind of a pantry pull as well. You could make it with penne, spaghetti, whatever you have.
So while Katie's cooking the meal, I'm in charge of setting the mood. So here are a couple tips to make the most out of your date night at home. First, we're gonna start with a blanket on the couch. Not only does it help if she gets cold, but I like to refer to my wife as an aggressive eater. If something doesn't end up on her, it's likely to end up on the couch.
You can see that fat that I've got left in the pan. To that, I'm gonna add half of a sliced onion. And I'm gonna use a wooden spoon to kind of break up those browned bits. By using the pancetta fat instead of, say, olive oil, I'm just gonna get as much flavor out of the ingredients as possible. All right, now that the onions are starting to soften, I'm gonna add in my garlic and crushed red chili flakes. And I know some of you are probably thinking, that much garlic on a date night? But if you both eat it, you cancel each other out. I mean, we've got the smells of pancetta, onions, and garlic going in the kitchen. If that doesn't scream romance, I don't know what does.
And lighting is key. Do not go with scented candles. You don't want to conflict with the wonderful scents coming out of that kitchen.
Okay, it looks like it's time for the tomatoes to go in. And then just take your wooden spoon and kind of break up the tomatoes. And then a generous amount of salt. And we can't forget the pancetta. This is gonna simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes until all those flavors have melded together and the sauce is slightly thickened. While this is doing its thing, I'm just gonna take a walk down memory lane of some of my favorite date nights. Oh, this is probably the most elegant we've ever been in our lives. We were on the Orient Express and had just gotten engaged. Oh, there's my favorite date, Gus. He's always our third wheel. Or maybe Ryan's our third wheel, Gus. My sauce is looking good. Now my pasta back here, I'm using bucatini. So bucatini is kind of like a thicker spaghetti and it's hollow in the middle. I used really heavily salted water and I always save about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of the cooking water. So this has some great starch in it that's gonna help thicken up the sauce. I cooked the pasta about 2 minutes less than the box says because I want it to be really al dente and it's gonna finish cooking in the sauce. And just toss it together with the sauce. Now that the pasta is nice and coated, time for some cheese. I'm using Pecorino Romano. It's nice and peppery. All right, it's time to plate this up.
And last but not least, look your best. Isn't that right, Gus?
Look what we have here. Honey, this looks great. Candles and a blanket.
I know.
Oh, and you look so handsome.
Yeah.
So handsome.
This is typical.
You too, honey.
He picked it out himself.
Well, I made your favorite, bucatini and matriciana.
Looks incredible.
So there's onions and garlic and crushed red pepper and pancetta and tomatoes, little pecorino romano.
Mmm. I love this.
Good?
It's spicy.
Just like me. I think we gotta dig a story. Aw, perfect date night at home. Look at this, puppy, pasta, Ryan, wine. What more could a girl ask for? Not much.
Let's start off with our flank steak. The first thing we need to do is make a marinade. Some Cabernet. We're gonna let this marinate for about 4 hours. And some shallots. And some olive oil. And a little black pepper. I'm gonna make a very large slit in the flank steak, basically butterfly it. And you wanna just take very long slices so you're not really sawing. Okay, you can pick it up like that. And this is where we're going to put the prosciutto and the fontina cheese. All right, so basically what you're doing is you're making a pocket almost to the edge, all right? I'm just gonna throw the marinade right over the flank steak, and we're gonna let this marinate for about 4 hours. Okay, and this is what it's gonna look like after it's marinated for a while. Take it out. We can put our prosciutto and our fontina cheese and our fresh basil. So fontina cheese is fairly mild, has a little bit of bite to it, but not a whole lot. And then we're gonna put a little salt and pepper down. And then the prosciutto di Parma. Prosciutto di Parma is a cured Italian ham. And then we're gonna take some fresh basil. And then some more salt and pepper on this side of the flap. We're gonna close it. Put it back in our marinade, and we can take it to the grill. So basically, the idea here is to make the steak very crusty on the outside. Cook the steak to about medium rare to medium, and at the same time, the cheese is gonna melt and bring out all the flavors of the prosciutto and that fresh basil. I'm gonna season on both sides on the outside. Okay, flank steak is basically one of the cheaper cuts of meat. It has a lot of depth of flavor to it, and because of the fat content on it, it can handle things like putting the prosciutto and the fontina cheese. So, as opposed to like a filet mignon, this is really the right cut of meat to do this dish. All right, so we're gonna let this cook for about 4 or 5 minutes on this side, flip it over, and let it cook for another 3 or 4 minutes on the other side, and then it should be done. We'll take it off, let it rest, and then we can slice into it. So this is the sauce that we're making for the flank steak. It's shallots and black peppercorns, some red wine, and some honey. And we're just gonna let it reduce down till the flavor concentrates and it gets a little thick. All right, so we're gonna take our flank steak off. That looks great. Okay, with the prosciutto and the fontina cheese and the fresh basil. And I think what we need to do is really let this relax. Let it rest for a little while. You know, the juices in the meat kind of cool down a little bit. So we're gonna let this rest for a good 10 or 15 minutes. All right, got our flank steak.
I have this really quick cooking process. Okay, 4 cloves of garlic, grated in 3 tablespoons of olive oil. To this, I'm gonna add the tiniest splash of water so you can get that raw taste out. So I'm gonna add to this just lightly kind of simmered garlic, 1/3 of a cup of tomato paste.
Wow.
We're going big.
I'm fascinated.
I just tasted to make sure it's salty,
Ooh.
but I want low surface area on this.
Oh.
I don't like a big pot for this.
I thought.
Surface area, tomatoes. Cream went in there, just about 3/4 of a cup, and then the angel hair. Let a little of that pasta water in there with you and to loosen it. Might go tongs here, just to submerge. And then we literally it's blushing.
So simple, Alex.
Bring it home, Poppy.
I'm just,
I put the pecorino on the whole dish. Yeah.
Don't. It's gone. I feel like we're in like Lady and the Tramp right now.
Yeah,
This
a little bit.
is perfection.
This is just the pasta with tomato sauce dish that we all want.
So I've got 2 chicken breasts, and I'm sprinkling one side with salt and pepper. I've got a hot pan with olive oil, and I'll put them right in the pan. And it's gonna take just a little time for these to cook. I'll go ahead and season the other side with salt and pepper. I'm gonna get this chicken cooked and then move forward with the pasta. Okay, so the chicken is now cooked. So I'm gonna remove it from the pan, and I'm gonna make a really yummy, simple sauce. White wine. Oh my gosh. Now I've got this straight spatula, and I'm just scraping the bottom of the pan just to loosen up all those bits of chicken. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so, so good. And then I'm gonna add some more good stuff. Butter, just about a tablespoon or so, and lots of garlic. And then stir it around. And then already that wine is starting to bubble up and reduce. So I've got some cut up asparagus and broccolini. Delicious. I'm gonna crank up the heat so that wine keeps reducing. But this is just a super quick pasta. There's nothing complicated about it. I love broccolini. It does take a little bit more time than broccoli takes. You would think it would be similar, but the stalks of the broccolini are quite a bit tougher. So it's good to get them in this sauce and start the cooking process. Salt and pepper. And then where the rubber meets the road. Now that the wine is really reduced, I'm gonna add in heavy cream. And there's more to add to this, but I'm gonna let this simmer in this state for a little while. The pasta's boiling, this sauce is simmering, things are moving along, so next, I'm gonna pull everything together. The pasta is finished cooking, so I'll drain all the water. And the sauce really cooked down. It's super thick. The broccolini is tender. So is the asparagus. So in goes the pasta. And then I'll give it a little stir. And then you've got to add some lemon juice. It just adds amazing, fresh, citrusy flavor and lemon zest. And then, for good measure, a generous amount of Parmesan. Save a little for the top. And then, Alex, come on. This is you here. This is all about you here. Look at that lemon zest.
My cup of tea.
Yeah, and it's just coating the noodles absolutely perfectly, so there's not like an excess amount of sauce at all. So I'll kind of nestle the chicken breasts into the pasta. You can slice the chicken if you like, but I kind of like to see what's going on here. See that big, beautiful chicken. And then some Parmesan shavings and some torn basil leaves. What a stunner of a chicken pasta dish.
I'm gonna get the grill set up. So I've got hot coals in the charcoal chimney. So I'm gonna dump them out. Okay, 1 layer of coals. Just gonna spread them out a little bit. I don't want to incinerate these. I want to just slightly grill them. Okay, grate goes on. Next, I need aluminum foil. So this is my trick. What you want to do is keep the oysters upright so all the oyster liquor and the butter stay in the shell. And I found if I put sprinkled foil right on the grill, I can just set the oysters in the foil and it all stays in the shell. So while I put the oysters on the grill, I'll show you how I prepared them. I put 1/4 pound of room temperature butter in the bowl of an electric mixer fitted with a paddle attachment, along with a teaspoon of minced garlic, a teaspoon of minced fresh dill, 1/2 teaspoon of lemon zest, a tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and just mixed everything together. Then I used 2 small spoons to put about a teaspoon of herb butter on each oyster. I had bought them shucked on the half shell. Okay, last 2 on. I made these once for Geoffrey and went crazy. So I'm gonna put the lid on, make sure the vents are open, and grill them for exactly 3 minutes. Okay, time's up, and they smell amazing. You can tell they're done when the butter's just sizzling and they just start to cook. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Just gonna put them on a platter. The butter's melted and the oysters just ever so slightly cooked. I'm using Blue Point oysters from Long Island. They're really nice and plump, but pick any oysters you really like. Make sure they're really meaty. You know what I always say, cook oysters and a man shows up. And a little fleur de sel at the end, just to bring out the flavors. Uh-oh, trouble just arrived.
What's here?
So I made grilled oysters with lemon dill butter. You don't want any, do you?
No. I'll just take the whole plate. Well, that looks good.
He's a very good audience. So you just pick one up like that. Okay. And use your fork. They're hot, very hot, and just eat it.
Oh, that's delicious.
That's really good, isn't that good? And then you can just sort of, so good.
Unbelievable.
So first here in the pan, I've got some olive oil down, some onion, garlic, and a Fresno chili. You can leave the ribs in and the seeds in for a little bit of spice.
Spice, right? Not wrong with that.
But
Make
it fiery.
Lobster wants spice, right? It's rich lobster.
Lobster wants spice. Now, to this,
what do you
I'm
need
gonna add in, so this is what we're gonna do at the end. Katie likes to toss it with some fresh herbs, so that's parsley and mint, which I really love for
Interesting.
this. Just give me a nice rough chop on that.
I can do that.
Jeff, you're obviously on salted pasta water going down over there. When they're done, reserve some of that pasta water because obviously Katie knows what's up. We're gonna thicken the sauce a little bit with that pasta
I have
water.
one job, literally, and then you just took it from me.
And then in the sink is the colander for you, Jeff, when you need it, okay? All right, so now to use
Another
this right here.
Valentine's Day for Jeff without anybody.
Got an entire can of whole tomatoes.
Oh, I love whole tomatoes.
Now let me show you a little trick I like with whole tomatoes. I feel like when people do the can of whole tomatoes, they use their masher like this, huh?
No.
Counterintuitive. Come in here and break them down like that.
Really? Are you kidding me?
Less splatter.
Less splatter. I don't see zero. I see zero.
Zero
Minimal splattation.
Zero splatter.
Minimal splattation.
Wow, this is
your
going.
kitchen
This is a
tools.
historic moment, people.
Is it?
You're
Is it?
seeing it for the first
We've
time.
been mashing wrong our whole life. Since we
Entire
were
life.
humans. Since around the.
Are you joking?
No,
I never saw that.
Well, it's just look at it. It makes
It's
more
noisier.
sense.
It's
yeah.
noisier.
It is noisier.
A little bit noisier, but look,
turn
it
the
did the
TV
job, and we didn't splatter anything on ourselves. Now, to this, I'm gonna add a little bit of dry white wine. You're gonna cover this up and cook this for about 35 to 40 minutes. It's gonna get all like flavorful together. All the tomatoes are gonna cook down. It's gonna look like this. Look at this, guys, huh?
That is gorgeous.
Right?
Gorge.
So look at the beauty of that. Now, I've got 2 lobster tails. So the story with Katie and Ryan is that if it's a special occasion, Ryan loves to make lobster tails for Katie. And if it's a special occasion, Katie, oh, look at them right there. Katie loves to make pasta for Ryan. So they
Which
did
is
a
every day for
mashup.
Katie.
Yeah, oh, she does not leave a card behind, trust me. So putting these together in a dish is very loving for
it is.
Valentine's Day, yeah.
What
so
about
I'm gonna
Gus?
put these.
They're leaving him behind. I'll tell you that.
Gus probably gets a little bit of the leftovers, right?
We see how Gus is treated backstage when he's
like
here.
so
That is
look,
dog.
I put
Very
the
good.
lobster tails right into the
little-
pot. You're gonna cover this up for 5 minutes.
Oh, look at that.
2 great things happen here. The lobster obviously steams and cooks, but not all the way through because we're going to take it out, chop it, put it back in, twirl it, and then it'll finish off.
Twirl.
Yeah, give it a little twirl. But also that shell flavor gets into the tomato in that short amount of time and really makes it flavorful. All right, so after about 5 minutes, you're gonna take the lobster out, and then hopefully it's cool enough to touch. And then just crack one down the center. Is it cool enough to
it's
touch?
good.
Yeah. I just get in there like that.
Perfectly cooked too.
It is. You can
I
kind of
love
really
that color.
feel
Look
it.
at that. The tomato poached lobster tail.
Another 2 things. We got the chopper, secondary
and
chopper.
You're just really doing so much today. Really proud of you.
Look at that. Look at that meat.
So you keep it in the shell like that?
No, she takes it out, gives it a nice little chop. So I like to kind of go in.
Hey, for those people that are on a budget, it's a good way to kind of extend the life of a lobster tail too in a pasta dish. You get all the flavor, you get chunks of the meat. You know, it's a little more economical than 1 lobster tail per person.
It is. I mean, we'll also go to the freezer section. You know, you don't have to buy this fresh, obviously. Go to the freezer section and buy them in bags. And a lot of times at the grocery store, they sell it already steamed for you. But I would argue that it's nice to get it raw so you can get that flavor into the pot. All right, GZ, I did all the messy work for you. If you don't mind giving that a rough
Yes,
chop for
ma'am.
me and giving it back.
Okay.
I'm gonna wash my hands really quick.
This pasta's perfect.
I've got the colander in the sink for you. The sauce is ready over here.
We want to.
Don't forget some of that pasta water.
We got it. Jeffrey did my job earlier, remember?
We want the lobster.
Oh, bring it back over here. All right, and then Jeff, bring the pasta.
Here, right here.
Yeah, you can put it right back
What
into
about
the
the
pot.
herbs? What about the herbs?
Bring me the herbs. Yeah, bring everything. It's all coming together, guys.
Clinging to the.
Do you know what I'm saying? You like this?
I love the way we're working here. Some olive oil?
Do you think? I think Katie would like some olive oil. And what about, you think she would like pepper, or is that wrong of me?
No.
Hey, why not? A little pep.
All right, let me get this in here.
Oi.
Oh, yeah, with the stuff on the top. There it is.
Stuff on the top. Look at that. Where's Katie?
That's short for lobster.
You know what I'm saying?
Look at this.
I feel like Katie would also do one of these moments. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
you're not a
saying?
mo, yeah.
A little bit of olive oil.
No cheese,
And
though.
there you have
No,
it.
yummy.
Katie and Ryan's Valentine's Day dish. You can do this too. You guys want to try some?
Yeah,
Try it.
come on.
You want to
dish it
serve?
up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Here you go. I don't even know.
Get in there.
Clean this area up.
Oh, is there any
Okay,
lobster
with
over
the
there?
flip of the wrist.
I didn't neglect you. There you go. Look at one lobster for you.
Thanks a lot. What do you?
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Johnny Spaghettis. You love it. You do that. Look at this guy. A little vitamin L for you.
That's right. And I would think that even shrimp would be great in this if you
Shrimp,
can
yeah.
find lobster
Scallops, maybe.
locally.
A little
What
fruit
am I-
de mar.
Wow. I'm gonna tell you something. I've never had this from Katie, but I know she would be very proud of what you did right here. This is a delicious
We did it
bite.
together.
Pasta cooked perfect. The spice is like on fire, but in such a good way. Lobster's cooked perfectly.
The thing about shrimp is you've just got to get shrimp from raw to cooked and on the plate tasting like itself. That beautiful kind of sweet, it tastes like ocean water, I feel like, when you cook shrimp the right way. Seasoning the shrimp, I go super easy here. Literally kosher salt, season from high above, make sure you get it on all sides. I will take the time to turn these over and season them on both sides. Shrimp has nothing to protect it. Do you know what I'm saying? No fat, no skin, no nothing. They cook quickly.
I think that really is the most challenging part about cooking shrimp is to not overcook it. If you go 30 seconds too long,
Canola oil, because I want that high smoke point.
Ooh, look at that
I really
puppy.
want to use olive oil, but I'm not going to do it because I want that higher smoke point. Okay, and then literally drop these shrimp right in there. Give them a little space in between each other, right? We want to get a little browning going. Shrimp are filled with water, right? So steam is immediately going to start escaping from the shrimp when we cook them. So got to give them a little bit of room right away. We have about 1 minute before we flip these over. I just put a tiny bit of butter.
you gotta have butter with shrimp, in my opinion.
A little bit. And just shake ever so slightly once the pan, just to make sure they're not sticking and let them know, you know, I got you, babe, right? We're getting that brown.
I mean, the great thing about a dish like this is it feels fancy, but it comes together in minutes. You can do this out of your freezer if you've got a bag of shrimp in there.
You see nothing but salt went on here, right? And then get them out. Get them out of the pan.
Look at that.
Because as you make the sauce, they are just sitting here like, what are you doing with me? Once those shrimp are cooked, you've got about 5 minutes tops before you have to eat them, right? I'm gonna put a little bit more butter in here. A little bit more for you, Geoffrey. And your pan is still hot. You've got all that beautiful shrimpiness. 2 cloves of just grated garlic. Take a rubber spatula and press the garlic into the butter so that it breaks up into small pieces and browns really evenly. You don't get clumps of overcooked garlic, right? To that, I'm gonna add about, too much wine, about 3/4 of a cup. I get a lot of questions. What kind of wine? I say whatever's in the fridge open or the cheapest stuff you got.
Yeah. I'm with you, Alex. I don't think you should be spending a lot on the wine that you're gonna put in there.
I mean, it's general. If you would drink it, you should use it. So
Would you use stock instead of wine for this, or do you must have wine?
No, I would use white wine vinegar
That's smart.
instead. Tiny dot of Worcestershire in there.
Oh, that's the secret ingredient.
A little bit of hot sauce, just a couple dots. It doesn't make it spicy, but you know there's something in there, right? Light grate of lemon. Now, I'm not big on a lot of herbs with this. I think you've really got to keep it simple. Small bunch of flat leaf parsley. I just fold it.
smells like garlic bread, doesn't it?
Oh,
I see that loaf of bread there, and I'm
I know, it's
thinking,
been-
time to mop up those juices.
Alex, now you know I'm gonna need a side with that. You gonna serve it with anything?
Okay, Sonny, I know that if I serve this without a big loaf of crusty bread, I'm gonna be in trouble with you. And once your sauce is pretty much ready, we're just gonna, you drop the shrimp back in that pan for a second, right?
Yeah, you never once like cook the shrimp in the sauce, which I think like 90% of the world does, which is wrong.
And then the shrimp, drop them right back in. I would shut the heat off. A little bit of those red pepper flakes going in there too.
Oh.
No pepper, just the red pepper flakes.
Oh, look at
You
that.
can go about this in a couple different ways. I always feel like you can never have enough lemon. Some butter toasted breadcrumbs, you want that texture, right? Soaks
I like
up a little
that
bit of the
idea.
sauce and almost coats it. And then literally, I mean, I wouldn't mess around with these. I would just go right in there and you have this combination of a sauce soaked up a little bit by the bread. Sonny, that breadiness is for you.
Yes, girl.
I mean, this is like a high-end restaurant dish in minutes.
In minutes.
And get all of that little bit.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I'll take that top scampus right there for sure.
And again, big loaf of crusty bread. Get in there with this.
Oh, yeah, that looks good, girl. Classically you.
Thank you, Sonny.
Season our steak from above with kosher salt so you can see coverage. You need complete coverage and a good amount of salt. I know it looks like a lot. I get comments all the time, the amount of salt I use. But you gotta season the meat, and when you season it, If you come and eat in my restaurant, you get the steak, you never say it's salty. And this is how we season it, right?
Darn Skippy.
I'm sure you do the same thing in your kitchen, Alex.
Definitely.
Salt is everything. Then cracked pepper, black pepper, and then we have green peppercorns, which are just unripened versions of this that are brined. And the reason why they're brined is because they're perishable if you don't brine them.
No.
Did you know that, Jeff?
I did not know that. They're not dried out. Since they're still fresh, they still have a little life in them. If you
Okay. We're gonna go like this, and we're gonna go right into, well, that's gonna show you first. So just once, a light tap. A light tap like that. Just so it's covered.
Texture bombs, little guys like that, right? Just texture.
Beautiful. Now,
I mean, we
you could
kinda
rub
want-
you could rub mustard on this if you want,
Really?
but you don't have to.
And that's like a butcher pepper, so it's chopped up?
This is a butcher pepper, yeah. It should be like screaming hot. The pan should be like 400 or 500 degrees. And you should see a little smoke. I have an unseasoned oil, like a canola or a grapeseed oil. Okay, so really important. You put it in the pan, and then what do you do, Jeff?
You leave it be. Leave it alone.
Now we're just gonna wait and cook these, probably 2 to 3 minutes on each side. You want them rare. We're gonna let them rest, then we're gonna make our pan sauce. Okay, so I'm just taking a flip on these. Take a look at them. Some of the peppercorn came off. It's totally fine. It's all gonna be in that sauce. You see how nice it is? Now, really the key to any steak or any piece of beef, room temperature, at least 30 to 40 minutes outside of the fridge, because it'll cook medium rare to medium rare. That's what we want. We want this 120 internal at most.
Wow, Geoffrey, look at that.
Okay, so here we are. We have our steaks. Now, you have to watch the steak. Some of them's a little, this one is a little thinner than the other. That's rare right now, so I took it out. It's resting, very important. Let's go. We're gonna take these, now we're resting them. They're very rare. We're gonna turn this down just a bit. We're gonna add some shallots, some
Now,
garlic.
I get asked so much, when do I use a shallot and when do I use an onion? And I think if you're making a sauce like this, it's really savory, the shallot is just the most special.
And some of the green peppercorns.
Oh.
Okay. We're just gonna clean the pan. And I've got this a little lower, so it's not too scorching hot. I just wanna get these, you can color this, it's okay because you're gonna actually add cream and stock, so there's a little color on it, don't worry about it. But you see how nice that is? You've just soaked up all the steak flavor is in these shallots. And we're gonna add our beef stock. And we're gonna add cream.
Wow.
Turn
Needs
it up.
again. No fat. I mean, it needs a little
And a little Worcestershire
luxuriousness.
sauce. You wanna really get it to a point where I can add the butter at the right point. If I add the butter right now, it's gonna get greasy. So I wanna add the butter at the very end, just to give it that gloss. It's not supposed to thicken it up. Okay, so we've reduced this about 4 or 5 minutes, and we're looking for what? Before we put the butter in, we're looking for nappe, which means you put a spoon in, and you see that, you see? It holds the line.
Holds the line.
Holds the line.
Firm.
You need to have butter in this. This is the finished product, and it gives it a little bit of shine. And just like this, and you'll see right away the gloss come up. Then we're gonna turn it down. Just let that butter do its magic. And it just adds sort of a silken texture that's perfect, really. And then what I like to do is put the steak in at this point, just so it sort of hangs out for a bit. And any of the juice that might be on the pan.
Getting that pepper over here.
Oh, you got it, yeah.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is get an internal temp of about 120, right? And then you're just going to let that sort of hang out. Look at that, huh? And that is a really, really nice way to serve a steak.
Your guests are going to be talking about this for a while.
I'm going to add a little bit of fresh parsley.
Ooh, wow.
And a touch of red wine vinegar. Okay. Shaky shake, and we're ready to serve. Jeff, you're up.
Please.
That looks so good.
I mean, this is like, it's hitting everything for me. Beautiful. Yeah, I need to have a bite.
Perfectly
like now.
cooked.
Yep. Huh. Beefy, of course. Rich, of course. But the pop of both of those peppercorns on there are phenomenal. That spice is doing more than just burning my tongue. It's like opening my taste buds more to accept in more of that beefy, decadent flavor.
To start, I've got a couple of chicken breasts cooking in my skillet here, and I've seasoned them with some Italian seasonings for extra flavor. You could also just go a shortcut route and use a rotisserie chicken from the store. I'll transfer these to a pan. I'll set these aside while I make my Alfredo sauce. I'll do it in the same skillet where I just cooked the chicken. I'm gonna add 6 tablespoons of butter. Get down. As the butter melts, I'll scrape the pan to get those chicken bits incorporated because those harbor a lot of flavor. And add in 6 cloves of minced garlic. I'll let this cook just for about a minute or 2 so that the garlic can soften. And when I can really start to smell it, that's how I know it's ready to move to the next step. Garlic and butter is the key to a good Alfredo. I'm gonna add some flour now, which is gonna help to thicken my sauce. 2 tablespoons is all I need. And the butter with the flour together is gonna create a roux, and that's gonna thicken up some milk and heavy cream so that it's just extra rich. I love lasagna made with a bechamel type sauce like this. Now I'm gonna add 2 cups of whole milk mixed with 1 cup of heavy cream. I'll pour this in gradually as I mix continuously until it starts to get luxurious. This is looking really creamy and dreamy. It hasn't reached its full thickness yet, but it's gonna continue to thicken up once I add my cheese. I've got shredded parm, which is gonna load it up on flavor. And in my creamy sauces, I love a little bit of nutmeg. It'll cozy it up. I'll just grate in a little bit. And then I'll mix in 2½ cups of freshly grated Parmesan for loads of flavor. I'll sprinkle in about half of it and whisk it in until it melts. I'll add in a little more, and I'm gonna save some for the top. Okay, I'm gonna add lots of black pepper, and the Parmesan is pretty salty, so I don't need to add more salt. Give it a taste. Yes, that is perfect. All right, I'll just keep this on low while I chop up my chicken. Normally I'm super opposed to chicken and cheese. I don't think that they go well together. But chicken and parm and a little bit of mozzarella in this, I make an exception for. My chicken's all cubed up. I'll also chop up some parsley. It'll be really pretty and green. Add some fiber. Gotta have something green in there. Okay, to put this decadent lasagna together, I've got a buttered casserole dish, some shredded mozzarella for meltiness, and no boil lasagna noodles. I'm gonna start with a layer of sauce in my dish. I'll spread it all over the bottom. I'll lay down 3 noodles, spacing them out evenly, and they expand a little bit in the oven. I'll add another layer of sauce, make them extra cozy. I'll sprinkle on some chicken, some mozzarella. Lasagna is all about the textures. You have the creamy sauce, melty mozzarella, noodly noodles, and that juicy tender chicken. Ugh, all in one bite. A little parsley. And I'll just repeat this 2 more times. Nick grew up eating a lot of Italian food because he was on the cross-country team. The night before a meet, they would have pasta parties. I'll finish with my remaining Parmesan. Oh yeah, just enough cheese. All right, this is ready for the oven. I'll stick it in at 350 degrees for 40 to 50 minutes until the cheese is super melty and the noodles are tender. I'm gonna crush this. This is delicious.
So I'm making crab and pea risotto, and it starts with 6 to 8 cups of simmering seafood stock. Then next I have 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of oil, and they're melted in a big Dutch oven. I'll make the whole thing in this one pot. I'm gonna add some flavorings. Half a cup of fennel, finely diced. You want this risotto to have great flavor. Half a cup of shallots, finely diced. And I love fennel with seafood. And these are poblano peppers. They're kind of warm. They're not really, really hot, and it just gives a little kick. You don't want boring risotto. I'm just gonna saute these for about 5 minutes. Perfectly cooked. Okay, now I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of garlic, chopped minced garlic. You don't wanna cook the garlic too much because it'll burn. So I'm just gonna cook it for a minute. I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. Give it a little heat, along with the poblano peppers. Half a teaspoon of saffron. Saffron's critical for risotto. I love saffron. I don't know what it is about saffron, but I really miss it when it's not in risotto. It's just got a heat. It's got this really subtle flavor, but it's really important. I love it. And it makes risotto yellow, which is gorgeous. Okay, next is the thyme from my garden. So I'm just gonna put it in right over the pot. 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves. and just strip the leaves and just run your finger right down the stem. You end up with fresh thyme. Okay, next is the rice. So it's Italian arborio rice. You really need to use that. I'm just going to put 1.5 cups in. And this is the key. You want to stir it and make sure each grain of rice is coated with butter. This smells amazing. Arborio rice really has the right amount of starchiness for risotto. It's got a creaminess when you're done that really is perfect for this dish. Next is the wine. Can't make risotto without wine. So I need 1 cup of white wine. I'm using a good Italian wine, Pinot Grigio. And just pour it in. Okay, just give that a stir. I'm just gonna cook this until the wine evaporates. And so the flavor is absorbed into the rice. Okay, next, a little bit of a process. Add stock, stir, and repeat. So I'll keep stirring for 5 minutes, then add a ladle full of stock. My tip is to use a 1/2 cup ladle, so it makes it easy to see how much you add. Then keep stirring, and when the seafood stock is almost completely absorbed, add another 1/2 cup of stock. And just keep going, adding stock until the rice is al dente. It takes about 25 minutes. Okay, now I'm gonna add a little creme fraiche. It's gonna give it a little richness. So 1/2 cup of creme fraiche. Just always tastes better. Just stir that in. Okay, next are salt and pepper. About 2 teaspoons of salt. I want to make sure it's really well seasoned, as everything else. And about 1 teaspoon of pepper. Okay, next are the crab meat. So I have about 1 pound of lump crab meat, and it's not the shredded kind, it's the, big pieces. I mean, you can use the shredded kind, but you won't really taste it as much. It'll flavor it, but it won't really have the bite that this does. It's particularly good. It's a little more expensive, but it's really worth it. Just put that in, along with peas. I use frozen defrosted peas. They're perfectly good. If peas are in season, they're even better. But it just takes so much time. And frozen peas are really pretty good, and they're already blanched. How good does this look for dinner? An entire dinner in one pot. Okay, now I need a big bowl so I can taste it. And the key to this is just make sure that the rice is cooked through. It's not mushy, it's al dente. And there's still a lot of creaminess in the sauce. You can see how it's not thick, it's really creamy. And then at the end, I love to add a few things just at the top. Some fresh chives. Nice thing about chives is they're always in season. And if they're not in the garden, you can get them at the store. Just little chives on top. Just give it a little oniony freshness and a little lemon zest, which I like with seafood. You can put it in the pot or on each bowl, but there's no cheese in this at all. Italians never put cheese with seafood. Geoffrey once was at a restaurant in Milan and asked for Parmesan for a seafood pasta, and the waiter just went, like, no, you can't have it. We still laugh about that. Oh, this looks incredible. See how creamy it is? And really taste all the flavors, the crab meat and the peppers. Fennel, saffron. This is one big bowl of comfort.
Here's what you need. You need some mussels. Now, not every mussel is the same. When you go to the fish store, ask them for Prince Edward Island mussels. If you want to be, like, in the know, just say, like, you have any PEI mussels? Because your fishmonger is going to know what that means. Prince Edward Island mussels, you want farm-raised mussels. Why? Because they're clean, they're very sweet, and they don't have those sort of beards that mussels have on them. And they're clean. They're just basically ready to go, just ready to cook them. And that makes a big difference. So I literally don't cook mussels unless they're from PEI, Prince Edward Island, all right? That's your buzzword for the day. So we have the mussels, we need some garlic, we need some shallots. This is gonna be the aromatics for the broth. We need some white wine, because the white wine will cook the mussels, and the broth from the mussels and the white wine are gonna make the broth and the sauce that you really want. I'm gonna put some crushed red pepper in there, some fresh parsley at the end, and then, this is the key. I'm sorry, everybody. It's a French dish. We need some butter, unsalted butter. And then, of course, we're gonna make some crusty bread to go alongside with it as well, okay? So, let's get started. So we're going to start by chopping up some shallots. Now, The shallots aren't the most important piece of this dish. You can use an onion if you want, or some scallions. But I like the idea of shallots because they're sweeter than onions. But you just want to dice them very, very finely. So, I mean, this is sort of the proper sort of culinary school way to dice a shallot. But if you don't have the same skills, you can coarsely chop them just like this until they get really nice and fine. Because we don't want big pieces of shallots in there, we just want the flavor. And we want to make sure that the shallots are nice and fine. Then we're gonna add some garlic. When you think about this, it's like garlic and shallots, a little bit of red chili, and lots of butter, and the mussel broth. It's so good. It's so, so good. So we separate the cloves, and then take the side of your knife, and it actually helps break away the skin from the meat of the garlic itself. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna crush our garlic. And I like to crush my garlic so that when it's cooking in the pot with the mussels, it actually kind of just dissolves and becomes part of the broth. So you're not like biting into a big piece of garlic. I can already taste the mussels. I can smell them right here. When they start to cook in that broth with the wine and the garlic and the shallots, and then you finish it with some beautiful butter, or as I like to call it, butter. And if you notice, I took a little bit of salt and just put the salt on top of the garlic, and that's gonna act as an abrasive. So when I turn my knife, I crush the salt and the garlic together to make a garlic paste. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of light oil just to kind of sweat the garlic and the shallots. I'm gonna use canola oil. And I'm gonna put the shallots in and the garlic. And I don't want the garlic and the shallots to cook too much, just to sweat a little bit. And then we're gonna put the mussels right on top. Then we're gonna add some white wine. Galloping gourmet style, bringing back the old school. And now we're just going to just give it a quick mix. And then we're gonna cover them. We're gonna steam these mussels, and the only way you can steam them is by covering them in the pot. And as soon as the mussels are cooked, as soon as the mussels open, they're cooked. So it's literally gonna take like a minute and a half maximum. And we're gonna finish it with some butter and some parsley, and we're gonna make some crusty bread to go along with it, because we have that beautiful broth. We want some of the bread to kind of go along with it. You can, if you want to, you can just kind of take a baguette and just rip pieces of the bread off. You can toast it if you want. Actually, this bread is really nice and fresh, and it has a really good crust on the outside. So I'm gonna just kind of serve it as it is. It's totally fine. And I like the idea of just kind of ripping it instead of cutting it. Just makes it a little more rustic. Let's check our mussels. Here, check this out. Come here. You can see they're starting to open a little bit. It's gonna be literally like another, I don't know, 30 seconds, and we're gonna be done. All right, so we have our crusty bread. I'm just gonna chop up a little bit of parsley just as our mussels are starting to finish. And this is something, you can have the parsley chopped ahead of time if you feel like you're not gonna time it right. Having all the ingredients ready to go, to me, that's really key. Just gonna chop some parsley up for some freshness. Gonna pop in a couple of crushed red peppers. Look how that looks. So some of the peppers, then the parsley. It's all coming to a close here, folks. It's all happening right in front of you. right in front of your eyes. Are your mussels cooked? Because mine are almost ready to go. I don't want to start eating before you. I know what you're saying, that's a lot of butter. You're 100% right, but that's what makes these things taste good. So now you can see a lot of them are open, almost all of them are open, and all we're gonna let happen now is let the butter emulsify in with that white wine and mussel broth. And what happens is, because the white wine is cooked, it's cooked off the alcohol, or most of the alcohol, and it saves the flavor of the grape. So you have that beautiful, nice, crisp. I mean, I used a really crisp Italian wine. You can use whatever you want. It could be a French wine, American wine, doesn't matter. Something light and crisp, not too crazy big in flavor. So you don't want to use a Chardonnay, maybe like a Sauvignon Blanc or something along those lines. A nice light wine. And what happens is the alcohol cooks off, the flavor of the grape intensifies, it gets mixed with the broth of the mussels, then you finish it with some of that butter and that garlic and the shallots, and then the parsley, and boom, you're done. Ready? We're ready to go. Here's my bowl. Come closer, look at these mussels. You can see that they're open. Okay, the mussels are all open. And any time after this moment, the mussels will just start to overcook. So we want to get them out of the pot. I'm going to ladle them right in. Delicious. And this is great to serve. I serve this a lot, especially like when I have a bunch of people coming over for dinner. This is a great way to kind of start the evening or start a lunch. You just put a big bowl of mussels and some bread in a big bowl with maybe some small bowls next to them so that they can discard the shells. And like everybody just lights up. And as I said, I just don't make these as much as I should. Pour that broth over there. And then you can just put the crusty bread right on top, just like this. A little more parsley. Moule meunière. So easy. I mean, we did that in 5 minutes. It's crazy. I mean, look at this. That's what you want to see. Plump, juicy, sweet.
So for 2 of us, I've got 3 pounds of mussels. I'm just going to fill the bowl with water and then put a little bit of flour in the water. And what this does is it gets the mussels to give up any sand that's in them. So, okay, it smells like the sea. So while these are soaking, I'm going to make a wine broth with lots of garlic and shallots. Heat up 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of butter. 1 cup of chopped shallots, right into the oil and butter. And then I need 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. Just chop them up. This is a really garlicky dish. It's wonderful. Okay. I'm just gonna cook these for a few minutes until the shallots are translucent and the garlic's cooked. In the meantime, I'm gonna get some tomatoes ready. I need about 1/2 cup of canned tomatoes. I'm just gonna chop them up in the measure. They don't have to be perfect, just a rough chop. Okay, now I need a little saffron, which I love. It's the stamens of crocuses, which is why it's so expensive. I'm just gonna put about 1/2 teaspoon of saffron in. Can smell the saffron already. Need some fresh parsley. Okay, right in. Some fresh thyme. Not the stems, just the leaves. That's about 1/3 cup of parsley and about 1 tablespoon of thyme. Okay, that should do it. Okay, now I need a cup of white wine. I picked a really nice dry white wine, something I drink for dinner. And this is what's gonna steam the mussels. Now I'm gonna see how the mussels are doing. So they've been soaking in the flour. And you can feel a little bit of sand, so it was good that we did it. And just make sure they're all closed really tight. So this one doesn't seem to want to close, so I'm going to discard that. I'm just going to take them out of the water, drain them into the broth. Just toss them with the broth. I'm gonna put on the lid, 8 to 10 minutes, and dinner's ready.
So what do you think we should do tomorrow?
You know, I was thinking, let's just really take a little vacation and go to Sag Harbor.
I'll take you for a walk.
On the dock?
Yeah, we'll look at the boats.
Okay. Walk down Main Street?
That's delicious. What a wonderful Saturday night dinner.
We're just gonna take a New York strip steak, one of the tenderest, beefiest cuts of steak. This is perfect for it. And I think this, on Valentine's night, this is a perfect for two. You don't need two of these.
Okay, we'll split it.
Little cocoa.
Cocoa.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Non-sweetened, right? We're gonna put that on there. Little paprika.
Okay, paprika, I know.
In some ancho chili powder.
Ancho.
All right, it's gonna give it a nice little earthiness, little spiciness that'll complement that earthy, rich cocoa. And we're gonna take some salt, some pepper, right? We're just gonna do these both sides, but we're gonna get a little messy here, right? Sometimes it's fun to get messy. And we're just gonna rub this, right? We're gonna get it all in there. Watch this.
Okay.
I know. You're like, what is this?
I'm trying to understand.
If you can do me a favor, get some of that vegetable oil, put it in a cast iron skillet, the steak's best friend.
Yes.
Right? The greatest multi-use instrument in anybody's kitchen.
That's a hot pan.
Right?
Chocolate steak for Valentine's.
Sherlock. Any Dumbo in the doghouse can do chocolate covered strawberries. You make your lady chocolate covered steak, she's gonna bulldoze that doghouse.
Here we go.
All right, right in there. We are gonna get that good sear. We wanna hear that. Let me wash my hands real quick. But you can already smell those spices and that cocoa activating there.
I just love a steak in a cast iron skillet.
Yeah.
We're also gonna do a side dish which complements the steak, also makes it pretty for the eye. We're gonna do some roasted beets. You guys like beets?
I do.
Beets and chocolate is a great combination.
Okay, let's do it.
She's the beet person. When we convert you in. So Marcellus,
Yes.
toss it with a little balsamic, some olive oil, fresh thyme, salt, and pepper, and put them cut side down.
Wow, okay.
And you said the time goes in there.
That's a sear. That's a sear. Shucky quack quack. In the house.
Yes.
Right?
Did you shucky ducky?
I shucky. He said shucky ducky. I said quack quack, and then I said in the house.
That's a lot.
All right. So we want that beautiful caramelized, and then we're gonna let it sizzle for another minute in the oven, 400 till it's 125. That could be 10 minutes. That could be 20 minutes, depending on the size of your steak.
Okay.
You need an instant read thermometer for this. You don't want to mess this up. 120. You pull it out and let it temp. But I'm gonna throw this in there for now. Right, and why mess up a new pan? You don't want to spend a romantic evening doing dishes.
Yeah, you have other things to be doing besides washing dishes.
Definitely.
Smooching, right? Tickling, a little tickle fight.
Hey, Valentine's.
In the oven, 400 for about 25 minutes till they're knife tender but crispy and golden brown. Let me show you what the beets look like.
I'm excited.
Give me a beet.
Give me a beet. I like that.
Beets. All right, that is beautiful roasted beets. And let me show you the denouement right now. That beautiful cocoa rubs. Steak with two. Beautiful. I got a beautiful salad here, made with some gem lettuce, some fresh chive on there, little pomegranate. And this is a time to kind of practice those plating skills. Make it pretty.
Of course, it's Valentine's. It's not pretty. Got a nice pink plate.
Do you have any special memories of a romantic meal that you've shared?
I do. He did a romantic meal in our bedroom. He set it all up because the kids are home. He set a table in front of the fireplace.
Tried to get her favorite food.
Yeah,
I did it the best I could.
You did.
From a local spot.
He did good. I look so
As always, cut against the grain, let it rest.
Okay.
Right? You want to get this guy medium rare. I'm going to do it in thinner strips, so it's a little...
I'm thinking about that end piece.
Right.
That's what I mean. Yeah, we're going to fight, right? It's two wins.
It's usually Sunny and I are fighting over
Really?
Oh my God, that end is my end.
You like that? I'm going to face that towards you.
Ooh,
So we are going to
do what you do, Jeff.
put that on that beet, made a heart beating away.
Heartbeat.
It's a heartbeat. Right? We can make
make it beautiful on that beat. But I just want you guys to share it. I want to put on one plate. Let me get one more. Nice little something on the side there to make it pretty.
Joey, we
Get some beans on there.
Come on, Joey.
Joey's got a fork.
Ew, Joey! I made you a steak. And there you go, strip steak for 2.
Oh, could you get forks for everyone?
I just want to see you guys eat.
Why did I
We eat all day.
That's
Give her the
Sonny.
Okay, Sonny. I was shit.
That was so nice.
Sonny up.
Shirley,
I kept
take
it
with her
beat.
hand. She's rocking.
Well, you guys can.
Cut that in half, just because we gave that to Sonny.
Okay.
Oh, thank
Let's do it together. Let's do it together. Okay,
Oh,
Sonny.
that's cute.
I love how this is the quietest we've ever had a food tasting version of the thing. Normally we're all like hyenas going after the food, but you guys...
Trying to be proper.
This is so good.
Jeff.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God.
I didn't lie.
No. This is really good.
Thank you.
Shrimp bisque. I love it, but every recipe I've seen is really complicated. I decided I'm going to see if I can make a really simple version that's just delicious. I bought fish stock, and I've added the shrimp shells to it to give it even more flavor. I'm going to strain the fish stock. I need 3 3/4 cups. So if I have a little less, I'm just going to add some water. Yep, just a little water. Okay, so first thing I've done here is sauteed 2 cups of leeks and 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Just make sure the leeks are really, really clean before you cook them. Okay, I'm going to add some garlic, about a tablespoon of garlic. Just saute it for about a minute. I actually love shrimp bisque. I like that rich shrimp flavor and a little bit of sherry. So the next thing I need is a little bit of cayenne pepper. Just a pinch, not too much. You don't want it to overpower the shrimp. And just cook that together. Okay. And then a pound of shrimp. This is where the shells came from. And just cook the shrimp for about 3 minutes until they're just perfectly pink and just tender. When the shrimp's cooked, I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients and have a really rich, delicious shrimp bisque. Well, I can't make good shrimp bisque without sherry, but I've actually decided a little cognac would help it too. So I'm going to start with 1/4 cup of cognac. Just going to pour it right into the shrimp and leeks. Let it cook for a minute. That smells good. And 1/4 cup of dry sherry. And all that's just going to really get into the shrimp and flavor the soup. Now that smells like shrimp bisque. Shrimp and sherry. So classic. Okay, I'm going to puree this now. I'm going to just put it right into the food processor. And now I'm just going to puree it until it's really chunky. I don't like it when it's too smooth. Okay, that's perfect. So now I'm going to make a white sauce that's going to be the base of the soup. This white sauce is really the same kind of white sauce I made for the lasagna. I'm starting with 1/2 stick of butter, then 1/4 cup of flour. I'm going to cook it over medium-low heat for about a minute, just to cook the flour. Then I'm adding 2 cups of half and half. I'm just going to stir this until the half and half gets hot and it thickens with the flour. So far, it's been pretty easy. Okay, the next thing I'm going to put in is the pureed shrimp and leeks. Really smells good. You can smell the cognac and the sherry. That's going to have so much flavor. The fish stock, 3 3/4 cups. Third of a cup of tomato paste. 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. And that's it. Just going to stir it up and just let this simmer. All the flavors are going to go together. It's going to be rich and delicious, I hope.
I'm going for my trusty cast iron skillet on a nice low heat, nice and easy in the background while I get my butter together. I'm gonna start by taking that butter I took out to soften and just popping that right into the bowl. Break it up a little bit with a whisk. Okay. Add that nice mixture of green peppercorns, lemon juice, lemon zest, Worcestershire sauce, yum, and my shallots. So this has all the flavor punch that we need, but it needs that little bit of freshness. And I always go straight for the classic parsley, that wonderful grassy taste with steak. Just tear the bottoms off. Give the parsley a nice chop. I always say I want to measure herbs, but let's face it, put in what you're feeling. Another run across. Scoop that up and put it right in there. Now that I've got the parsley in there, I just want to gingerly fold that in. Now, I like to make a nice log, and the thing about this is you can cut a slice off, keep this butter in the freezer, and then use more of it at a later date. So start with a little layer of plastic wrap, but don't tear it off. Put it nice and flat. Gather that butter up and put it down in a nice heap, leaving some room on the edges. You see how I didn't go quite to the end here? I fold this over, and then like when you tuck the sheets into your bed, tuck that plastic right underneath, and now I'm gently rolling and squeezing, kind of like when you wrap up a piece of candy. Break off the plastic. Once you've gone twice around the butter, pick it up, give it a pull, and another twist. Look at that. Now the butter's pretty soft, so you don't want to spend too long trying to make it perfect. I'm gonna pop it in the fridge to let it get nice and cold. Here is my 2.5-inch thick, maybe even closer to 3, steak that weighs about 2.5 pounds. And you can see I'm just seasoning that first side very carefully with cracked pepper. And it's very important to season both sides. Here I like to use coarse sea salt to get that extra bit of flavor in there, that extra bit of personality. Okay, so the Porterhouse. Divided in the middle by a bone that's gonna really conduct heat and create more even cooking internally. I've got the filet side, the tenderloin, lean and mean. And then the strip steak side, which has more of that intramuscular fat or marbling. So it's really the best of both worlds. So here comes that wonderful moment, that leap of faith where we take our steak and just drop it right in the pan. Wow. I like my steak between rare and medium rare, which means I'm looking for an internal temperature of about 130 to 35 degrees when I'm finished. And for a steak this size, that's gonna take about 30 to 35 minutes of cooking. While you're cooking the steak, you're gonna kind of hear it calling your name every once in a while. Go over and check it out, because I think it's time for our first flip. So I've had a little renaissance, because what I used to do was just put the meat down and not touch it or look at it until it developed a great crust, flip it over, do the same thing on the other side, and then just let it go. Now I like to develop that crust a little quicker and flip the meat back and forth, which is just moving the blood or moisture from side to side, kind of like shaking a snow globe, so that all that moisture is going in and around and internally basting the steak as it cooks. Let's have a look at our steak. You can see the meat is starting to kind of come off the bone a little bit. It's been cooking for about 33 minutes. So I'll take it off and just put it right in the middle of this platter. Let's not forget about our butter. Just cut a nice big slice and look at that inside. Does that say flavor or what? And just put it right on top there in the middle. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for. So cut myself a few slices of the strip side, a few slices of the filet. Go ahead and just spread a little bit of that butter all over. I'll start with the filet. Wow. This tastes somewhere between a steak my dad cooked when I was a kid and the most perfect moment I've ever had in a steakhouse. When I managed to bring restaurant and home together in one bite, that's pretty exciting to me. And then for the strip steak side, the steak has an amazing flavor. The two sides really different. The filet a little more tender, the strip steak with a little bit more flavor and a little more chew to it. But the best part is when you get a little bit of that butter and all those flavors mixing with the natural flavors of the beef, to die for.
All right, I had some onions and garlic browning in a pan, and I just added 1 pound each of ground beef and Italian sausage. And I'm just gonna break this up as it browns. It already smells so good. Since I was planning steak and potatoes for Tim and Missy, I didn't think it would be feasible for me to make that at both locations. So I kind of looked in the fridge and pantry to see what I had, and this baked ziti just jumped right out at me. Honestly, once I started thinking about it, I thought, I don't think Tim, Missy, Lad, and I have ever had dinner, just the 4 of us. We've always had the kids around, so it's kind of a novel concept. I hope we can find things to talk about. Okay, the meat is totally browned. I'll add a 28-ounce can of whole tomatoes, juice and all, and then a couple of regular cans of tomato sauce. You can also do jarred marinara sauce if you have that. Either one will work. And then just to give it a little spice, I know the 6 Drummond kids can handle it, some crushed red pepper flakes, and then about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I love this baked ziti. Anytime I have to feed a bunch of people, I whip it up. Then a little salt and pepper. Okay, now I'll just let the meat sauce simmer for about 25 to 30 minutes to make sure it's really flavorful. And while it simmers, I'll whip up the cheese mixture for the baked ziti. So the first cheese is ricotta, just a tub. The next is mozzarella. I'll grate 1.5 pounds and add about 2 cups, keeping the rest for later. And I'll also grate 1/2 cup of Parmesan and add it in with the other cheeses. Next, it's 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of minced parsley, some salt and pepper. And then I'll just stir it together a couple of times. Okay, the cheese mixture's all combined. Now I'll get the pasta in to cook. I'm using 1 pound of ziti pasta. You can do penne, mostaccioli, any short pasta is just fine. Just pour it in. All right, now I'll just let the pasta cook for about 10 minutes until it's done.
A steer. Sword. Okay. Kangaroo. Yes. Can I go? Can I go?
Yeah, go, Tom.
Now the baked ziti elements are all ready, so I'll start by assembling it. Now first, I'm gonna take about 3 cups of the sauce out of the pot, and I'm taking it out just so it'll cool down a little bit. All right, stir it around. I'll show you what I'm gonna do with this here in a sec. Now the pasta is all cooked. I rinsed it under cold water because I wanted it to stop cooking, and I'm just gonna pour it into the bowl with the delicious cheese mixture. And then I'll stir this so the pasta gets coated in all that wonderful ricotta, all that mozzarella. Okay, now the sauce should be slightly cooled, so I'll pour it right in with the pasta and the cheese. Now the purpose of this is just to give the cheese-coated pasta a little bit of a coating of sauce without totally drowning it yet. Okay, this looks great. You don't want to totally mix it together. You still want to have some big chunks of cheese in there. Now I'll start the layering process. I'll add 1/2 of the pasta into this dish, and then I'll spread it all into an even layer. Now I'll top the pasta with 1/2 of the sauce. The sauce looks so good. It's been bubbling away. It's really dark and rich looking. You could just boil up some pasta, top it with this. That would be a great dinner too. Okay, now I'll just spread the sauce into an even layer. Now on top of the sauce, I'll add a little more grated mozzarella. And then I'll start the whole process again. And this is going to be the perfect dinner for those 6 Drummond kids. I'm just gonna cover it with foil. Then I'll grab the salad out of the fridge and run all this down to my house. history?
Yes, I am.
Wow, what a beautiful sight that is. Okay, I brought you dinner, so I'm gonna put you in charge.
Okay.
The baked ziti goes in 375-degree oven until it's bubbly, so like 25 minutes or so.
Okay. Okay. So
have fun. Call me if anything wild happens.
Okay, I will.
Bye, Alex.
Bye. Okay, guys, pass your plates down and I'll serve you up. There we go. Okay, pass that down. So you served me up some salad. Okay, guys, dig in. Do you guys like it?
Yeah.
I was really hungry. Do you guys like having dinner without our parent?
Yeah, we have full control.
So I'm going to start with the chicken, about 4 to 5 pounds, a whole chicken. And the first thing I'm going to do is pat it dry. And that helps it brown when it's in the oven. And then salt it inside and out. Lots of salt. You want it to have fantastic flavor. And pepper. I want lots of flavor in it. So I'm going to take lemon. I'm just going to cut it in big quarters. Just like that. I'm going to put half a lemon inside the chicken. And then when it roasts, all the lemon juices and the chicken, and then I'm going to put garlic in too. So that's going to roast in. Don't have to peel the garlic. You don't have to do anything. Just cut it right in half, and all that fabulous garlic's going to be in the chicken. Right inside. Okay, into a roasting pan. And then we're going to cook it with lots of wonderful flavors, onions, more lemon. First, I'm going to tie this little guy together. There are lots of ways to truss a chicken, but I hate when it looks like it's in bondage. All you have to do is tie the legs together. Now, trussing is really just about making sure the chicken roasts evenly. If the legs are out like that, they're not going to roast at the same time the rest of the body of the chicken. Just take the wings, just tuck them under. Just like that. Perfect. A little olive oil so it browns beautifully. Just drizzle it on. Clean hands are the best tools. And salt and pepper on top. I want this to be the best chicken ever. Okay, that's the chicken. Next I'm going to do lemons and onions. And I'm going to mix them together and roast them with the chicken. And not only will I serve them with the chicken, but it's going to become the sauce too. It's going to be fab. So I'm going to just do this in the bowl. You can do it in the pan, but I just like to toss it together in the bowl. So I've got the half a lemon that I've left over. I'm going to do another lemon. It's actually amazing. Never think of eating cooked lemon, including the rind, but when it's roasted with the chicken, it sort of caramelizes a little bit, and it's so delicious. A little bit bitter, but I like that. And it's really good. And of course, the juice makes the sauce, which is fabulous. So I'm going to cut up big, thick slices of 2 Spanish onions. I actually like Spanish onions. They're a little sweeter than regular onions. There's lots of vegetables. It makes lots of sauce and vegetables to serve along with it. It's big, rough slices. 2 tablespoons of good olive oil. Just drizzle it on top. About a teaspoon of salt. This is why I like to do it in a bowl, so you get it really well mixed. Half a teaspoon of pepper. Clean hands again. Okay, and then we'll take all of this and just put it right around the chicken. And it's all going to roast together. All the chicken juices and the lemon juices and the onions, they're all going to cook together. It's going to be so delicious. This is my version of the Glamour Magazine Girls Engagement Chicken. Okay, into the oven, 425 degrees, and depending on how big the chicken is, it'll be about an hour and 15, an hour and 30 minutes, and this is going to be the most delicious engagement chicken.
Now let me tell you about chicken and brining. Got some water here. Gonna add a little bit of sugar. Usually 1 part sugar, 2 parts salt. We're gonna put the juice of 1 lemon. Don't worry about the seeds or anything. Just quarter this baby. All right, I'm gonna add this to the brine, squeeze and drop, squeeze and drop. It's gonna add a nice lemony flavor to your chicken along with the salt and the sugar, so that's in there. We're ready to go. I've got 4 chicken breasts with skin on because, I mean, there's no bone in, so we want to keep a little bit of the moisture. What we want to do is put that in the brine for about an hour, half an hour. Look, the more salt, the more sugar you put in the brine, the less time you have to soak it. I'm gonna get the chicken out that's been brining and get ready for the grill. It's been in there for about an hour. Those are patted dry. Now I'm going to start just building them up. A little butter, salt, pepper, the liquid smoke that's gonna make it taste like you did it outside on the grill for hours. Oh, man. So I'm gonna put this in here. Now remember, the good thing about drying off the chicken is the butter's not gonna slide off when you try and kinda put it in there. Make a little pocket. Don't take the skin completely off, all right? And then what I do is put a little leaf of sage right in there. Finished up that last one there on the grill with the rest of them. Just gonna sear it. We're not gonna completely cook it through because that's gonna happen in the oven with the potatoes. If we do everything right, it's gonna finish all at the same time. It's gonna be so, so good. All right, so next, we're gonna work on getting our sauce ready for our white wine mushroom sauce. It's gonna be so unbelievable. All right, so I've got a pan right here on low. I'm gonna throw some butter in. All right, some olive oil. Thing about the butter and the olive oil, they help each other out. The butter's not gonna brown with the olive oil, and the olive oil's not gonna burn with the butter. So they're like great friends in this pan. All right, so add the onions, and I'm gonna get some mushrooms, slice them up, put them in there with the onions and wait for them to tender up. Let me check this chicken really quick. It might be ready for the oven. A few more minutes on this. Just added some cayenne pepper for a little bit of smoky flavor and heat to the onions and the mushrooms that are getting nice and translucent with the butter and the oil. Let me check my chicken here that's grilling. We don't want to completely cook it through. It looks good. So I'm going to put it in the oven with our potatoes, and it's going to finish up cooking in there. Oh, it looks good. Nice and golden with the grill marks. Got to really invest in one of these pans if you don't have one. Get one with the handles, no big deal. All right, so I'm gonna put this in with the potatoes. It's gonna be in there. Oh, the potatoes smell so good. The garlic. It's gonna be in there about 20 minutes, all right? We're gonna finish off this white wine mushroom sauce with, of course, some white wine, some chicken stock, because the chicken is going on it, or under it. And of course, this is the lettuce for our salad. Oh, don't drop it. All right, good save. We're gonna put some wine in there. Just a little bit. We're gonna reduce it down so we get all the nice fruity flavors of the wine. Really work those bits from the bottom of the pan. It's gonna add a lot of nice flavor and texture to your gravy when you're done. All right, so wine down. We're gonna put some chicken stock in a minute, but we're gonna have to thicken it up at the end, and I wanna show you how to do that. What I like to do is 1 part butter and 1 part flour. It works so easily, so if you ever have lumpy gravy problems, give this a try. I'm feeling like I might wanna put some chicken stock in here. Yeah, the wine is reduced down. It's ready for the chicken stock. A lot of times people want to add some water into the gravy, but I say chicken stock. Adds a lot of body and depth and flavor. Oh, it smells so good. Now remember, that butter and flour, 1 tablespoon of each, so this is gonna thicken up with no lumps.
So I'm gonna make lobster mac and cheese, and it starts with the sauce. The French call it a roux, which sounds really fancy. It's not. Start with butter, 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just gonna melt that. And then later I'm gonna add some flour for thickener. Okay, the next thing is heating up a quart of milk. And what this does is thicken the sauce. When I add the cheese and the pasta, it gives a nice thick mac and cheese, classic mac and cheese. And then I'm gonna mix into the butter 1/2 cup of flour. And the thing about making a roux, or white sauce, is you want the flour to cook for a minute or 2, so it doesn't have that sort of raw flour taste. Okay, milk looks like it's hot, just under simmering. Just gonna pour it in. And now I'm gonna stir it until it gets nice and thick. So this is white sauce, that's it. It's just thickened milk, and it's gonna make fantastic mac and cheese. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat off next to the cheese. That's the good part. So that's about 2 cups of grated cheddar, and I'm gonna do 4 cups of grated Gruyere. Just cut it so it fits in the feed tube. Just like that. Okay, into the pan with lots of flavorings. I just think it's gonna go so well with lobster. That's a lot of cheese. It makes 8 servings. 1 tablespoon of salt. I use kosher salt. 1 teaspoon of pepper. Give it a little heat. And half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Sort of a classic French gratin seasoning. Just think brings out the nuttiness of the cheeses. Stir that together. This is gonna be really good mac and cheese. Okay, next I need some pasta. Once it's drained, it goes right back into the sauce and cheese. Yeah, okay. This looks delicious. All the pasta and the cheese, and wait till I put lobster in. It's gonna get even better. Okay, I'm gonna cut up 1.5 pounds of lobster. So I'm gonna leave some of the big pieces whole, and then the really big ones I'm gonna chop up. Okay, all this is just gonna go right into the pot. This may be one of my favorite dishes of all time. So good. Big stir. Okay, now I'm gonna get the topping ready. First I need some melted butter. 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And 1.5 cups of breadcrumbs. So these are breadcrumbs, it's really fresh bread that I just ground up in the food processor. And what this is gonna do is when it's in the oven, it's gonna get brown and crusty. So I'm just gonna sprinkle this right on top. Into the oven, 375 degrees for 30 minutes, and they're gonna be bubbly and crusty on the top. It's gonna be so good. Lobster mac and cheese. Now, I don't know anybody that wouldn't want that for dinner. Wow, it smells fantastic.